expect us to act on it, you need to bring us facts, figures, and dollar amounts, those kind of things. So, Charles told me that they were in process, and they would have something for us in the near future. I'll just leave it at that.
Good.
I deal with multiple road issues. The complaint I'm hearing about mag chloride, people say they love it because.
Now they love it, but now it's the hard holes.
Yeah. What they're concerned about is when it rains, apparently the road becomes more slippery on mag chloride. So, if anybody's listening, and I hope you are, just, if you're driving on a road with mag chloride, slow down. And of course, the ripples in the road, according to Gary, are caused by excessive speed also, so slowing down on the dirt roads is good for your car, it's good for the county, it's good for you.
Had a friend slide off and hit the ditch, and the ditches are steep enough that it severely damages the car.
Right.
Goes up on site.
I have a recommendation at some point about comp time. It's not on the agenda, so I really won't go into it too much now, but I have that prepared and ready to go whenever we're ready to discuss it.
You want to put that on the agenda for 6?
That'll be fine. I'm ready to go, so whenever you're ready. Meredith?
June 6th.
Thank you, ma'am,
Thank you.
appreciate it. Did a lot of work on that, a little soul searching, did a huge amount of work, it's really kinda weird, I did a huge amount of work on it, spreadsheets and all this kind of stuff, and then I said, you know what, this is stupid, and I broke it down to as simple as it could be, and you'll hear my presentation for your consideration at that time. Other than that, I just took care of lots of stuff, phone calls, people coming in, those kind of things. Didn't do anything else. Staff meeting this afternoon, I'm ready for that. One of the things we'll be discussing is CTSI, or insurance company, send a list of.
That's right, that's coming up.
Send us a list of recommendations, of things that they felt we could do better as a county, and I'm going to present that to the at the board meeting this afternoon.
Okay,
Staff meeting.
Staff meeting.
Is there a CTSI workshop next week, or weekend?
I'm not familiar with that.
Seemed like there was something, well, maybe it's a training.
Yes.
Oh, that's what it was.
There's a violence training.
That's what it was.
That's not,
Okay.
That's all.
That is on the 12th.
Yeah.
so that's what I've been up to.
Okay, thank you, sir. Yeah, I think we've all attended some of the same meetings, May 21st, let's see, that was May 23rd, sorry. I attended the E911 meeting at the Westcliff Town Hall to discuss, ways to increase the funding for the dispatch center employees over there, our dispatchers. I thought that was a fruitful and productive meeting.
What did they decide not the results, so they're moving forward with some.
Individual entities are gonna go back to their own boards and have a discussion about what they can bring to the table, so, we're scheduled to meet again. May 25th, I participated in the Memorial Day Parade with my grandson. May 27th, I attended the Memorial Day service up at Silver Cliff Veterans
Yeah,
Park.
boy, that was a good
I
one.
thought those guys did a good job.
That they did.
May 28th, I sat in and observed the planning and zoning, interviews for that position. Was not a part of that, I just observed that. And I also, attended Commissioner Canada's water group meeting down at Rancher's Roost. And, so those were the formal meetings that, I had attended. I want to inform you gentlemen, I don't know that you may or may not know. Anyway, Ann Barthrop has sent an email to the Central Republican Committee requesting a letter of reprimand to myself for my behavior in the Memorial Day Parade. I can tell you that I apologize for my behavior. I don't believe either one of you were there, so this is on me. It's not us as commissioners. I was in the parade as a commissioner. My grandson and I were having a great time. Got a little carried away, got to acting a little stupid, got to playing with horse manure, teasing some people, and And so Mrs. Barthrook took offense to that and is requesting that the Central Committee write a letter of reprimand. So I'm assuming that that committee will deal with that at some point, but I just wanted you guys to know that up front. I will apologize to the Republican Committee. I was representing them. I was representing myself as a commissioner and did not do a very good job. I will assure the Central Republican Committee that I will not be embarrassing them or myself in another parade. So I want you guys to know and understand that. So I could follow up after our next Central Republican Committee meeting, keep you apprised of that, but I do apologize. It was uncalled for. The 4-H club after that parade told me that George Gramlich told them that they were not allowed to throw candy, that this was a somber and sad parade. I did not get that message. I certainly would have behaved differently, but my personality gets a little carried away, and so I will own my behavior in that parade, and I will have a frank and open discussion with the Central Committee, and we will move forward. Anything else, Jill?
Well, that reminds me, the Lincoln Day dinner is Saturday.
Tomorrow, yes.
Tomorrow.
Yep.
I won't be there. I have
The Lincoln Day dinner.
At, out at, Hillside.
No,
Or,
no,
excuse me,
Wetmore
down at
Community
Wetmore.
Service.
Wrong
Yeah.
side of that, and I regret not being there.
And currently, the embarrassment to the Central Committee is cooking for that, so we're gonna have
So-
to.
Did you wash your hands?
Yeah.
One of the guys behind me said, it's just digested hay, right? Not everybody saw the humor, and that's okay. I respect that and I understand that. So,
But anyway, that's a reminder that for people, that Lincoln Day dinner is going to go on Saturday, and I'm sorry I can't be there. I'm gonna be in Denver.
okay, anything else, gentlemen? Okay, we'll move forward, thank you.
Thank you for saying that.
Oh, you're welcome. Next item of business, Upper Arkansas Water Conservancy District Report. I just want to make public, certainly I know the three commissioners know this, that on the 28th, Commissioner Senderhoff was informed by Chief Judge Patrick Murphy that he was being removed, that he would not be reappointed for his term that expires at the close of business today, and that Mike Shields, a local rancher, was appointed to fill his position. So we have, Custer County has new representation on the Upper Arkansas Water Conservancy District. The next meeting, I believe, is the 12th of June, 12th or 13th, I can't remember exactly, I got it written down, 13th. I have decided as the ex officio member of that organization that I will request a seat at that table and remind them, according to the parliamentary law, which Robert's Rules is a recognized expert on that unless their bylaws or articles of incorporation state otherwise, all ex officio members have full voting rights and any other rights as a seated member. So I'm going to have that conversation with them. I think it's time that
That's a good idea.
that we move out of the shadows and quit introducing myself as a guest when I'm a seated member of the board. It's ex officio, I understand that, but I think they probably need to understand what that means as well. So, go ahead, sir.
Congratulations to Mr. Shields, and I'd like to publicly comment that while at the moment the commissioners have a little issue with Mr. Senderhoff, he did spend many years on the Upper Arkansas Water Conservancy District, and I'd like to commend him for his service. So I'd like to just publicly say thank you to him for all the years that he's served.
They're over 30.
Even though we have a little bump in the road right now, I mean, we're gonna work through that somehow, somewhere, but bottom line is, he served many years, basically for free. They get just a stipend for going to these meetings, and I think he should be commended for his service.
Good point.
Yeah, it's a great point. Thank you for that. I know when I was considering running for political office, I made an ignorant statement more than once about never letting politics interfere with friendships. Well, it sounds good on paper, pretty hard to
Pretty hard to
do
live
that.
by, isn't it?
Bob and I have been friends for 33 years, and I agree completely. He has given his heart and soul to that Water Conservancy District, and him and I had an understanding that we were on different sides of the fence when it comes to the water augmentation plan. I hope when the time is appropriate, I can shake his hand and ask him how he's doing. That has been happening all through this process so far, so I hope it continues. Not worth destroying a relationship over if we can help it, so. But he has done a good job, and again, like you said, we've hit a little snag in the road here, but that doesn't, one incident doesn't need to negate what he's done and his commitment to that.
By the way, if you don't see him, it's not because he's hiding his head, it's because he's taking a vacation in Alaska for, I think, a month or more. It was set up already.
Great.
Can I also ask that sometime in the near future, we ask Mr. Shields to come in so that we can officially meet him and talk a little bit about water augmentation, find out where he is.
Sure can.
Just get a feel for the board now that we have a new person representing us so that we can feel comfortable with him.
Absolutely, yeah, I had coffee with him this morning. I will extend the invite to him.
I really appreciate that, thank you.
You have it coming up here.
Pardon?
You haven't had it yet.
I had
You're gonna
coffee
see
with
him.
him this
Oh, you
morning.
did?
Yeah, but I'll talk to him and extend that invitation to him and we'll meet on the 6th or 7th, so, perfect. Okay.
Good, thank you.
Yeah. Anything else?
Nope.
Commissioner Candy, anything on the Upper Ark?
Well, we had a good, pre-meeting with the guys it's not the, it's the Wet Mountain Valley Water Association remnants, cause we're not giving up, and I thought that, first meeting went very well. We had quite a few people there, and the meeting yesterday did exactly what I thought it'd do. Of course, Bob was still in his, we're not gonna do anything, we wanna press on, we're gonna teach you guys instead of, well, let's see what you've got and maybe we can modify it. But we did hear some chinks in the armor that toward the end of the meeting, even the lawyer said, I can't remember his name, we've got 18 months before it's out of the referee's hands and into the actual beating each other up and spending money. Our goal is not to try to spend money. And so, and then even a couple of the directors later said, you know, there's opportunity to modify. Now they're starting to say modify. We'll see if we can get them. And with Mike there, it'll help.
Yeah. Their attorney's name is Kendall Bergmeister.
Kendall Bergmeister.
From Law of the Rockies.
I think he's a pretty sharp guy.
That was the Blue Line Committee meeting, right?
Blue Line Expansion Committee.
Yeah, and it was not an executive session, it was an open meeting.
Wanted to make sure I had it right in
You
my
don't,
notes.
it wasn't yesterday, it was the day
It
before.
was the, for the 29th.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, good. Anything else, gentlemen, on Upper Ark?
No, sir.
Thank you. We'll move on. Attorney items?
I attended the meeting, or the interview session last Tuesday, where Jackie Hobby, our planning and zoning director, interviewed applicants. I got a communication from Cecily Ketterer, she's the manager of Big E Ranch that bought the gravel pit, wanting to know if we either had a key to the padlock there at the gravel pit, or whether somebody could cut off the lock so they could gain entrance. I don't know if that's been taken care of, do you know something?
I do. I communicated with her. Did you? Okay.
Oh,
And I
okay.
meant to forward my communication to you and I forgot. But
All right.
she said her stepfather was going to take care of that.
Okay.
He lives here.
Alright, good.
They're gonna cut it off, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Well,
suggested-
she actually sent me an email and said she thought he might have access to a key. I don't know where that would have surfaced, but
Well, I mentioned too that it'd probably be more trouble trying to find the key if you didn't have it.
sure.
And locks are not all that expensive, just go ahead and cut it, you own the property, we're not gonna kick you out, so.
I volunteered to
That was
go
my-
out there and cut the lock chain off of it, and she said, thank you, but my stepfather's taking care of that. I also gave her a gentle reminder that if I were to go out there and cut the lock, if she's living in Texas, then it would be open. And she just thanked me and said she was gonna have it taken care of, so,
Great.
good,
That's all I have.
okay.
Can I have seconds just real quick, because what Jay said on the Upper Ark, what you said, getting Mike in is a great thing. It's about getting Mike Shields in here to talk and,
Oh,
and those
yeah,
kinds of things.
amazing.
And the more we do communicating, the better. And you've heard me say it before. The troops, whoever they are, do what the commander inspects, not what he expects. So we have an expectation when they set that board up, and we got directors from all the counties, and we expect them to do their job. It's up to the water users and the people that get the beneficial use of the water to make sure that they're inspecting and holding them accountable. So that's what I see happening now. I see more of that. I see what you're saying, Tom, getting on the board as a seat, you know, and an opportunity to have those guys get in front of us with what's going on. And that, I think, will help go a long way from what I saw.
And I certainly will never say that conversation discussion is
Bad.
the, right, I'll never say it's not the way to go. What sticks in my craw, and I'm not speaking for anybody else, is the methodology that this occurred. And that's where a lot of our my damper is up, and I'm not speaking for either of you two. So communication is paramount. Cooperation is more important. Let's work out a plan that's livable, that we're involved in. I did sign a letter saying that I would not be part of any discussion while Custer County was being forced into this plan, and now it's litigation, or will be litigation most likely. And I will stick to what I made my commitment to. If they say we will remove Custer County from the augmentation plan that they presented, with the proviso that if a plan could be worked out in a cooperative manner, I would be all in favor of them modifying it a third time and putting us back in. That would be the appropriate thing to do. But I'm standing behind the back. Contrary to what our water rights holders have told us in meetings that we've gone to, for them to be forcing this upon us, I will not be a part of it unless they sit down with an open arms and say, we've put it on hold, we've removed it from the plan, and let's sit down and talk. I will drive you over there to the meeting if you like, without violating sunshine laws. I would welcome the discussion, but there can be no discussion when there's no trust, and at this moment, in my opinion, for me personally, there is zero trust.
Right.
So that's how I feel. But I appreciate what you're saying in terms of conversation is paramount, and that is a correct statement.
You have a question?
I do have a question. Mr. Prince, you keep referring to a letter that says that the commissioners will not have conversations until we are removed from the water aug plan. The only letter that I have seen, and maybe I'm missing that letter, is the one where you said to them, certified, saying we're asking that you take us out of the water aug plan. But it does not mention anything about not having conversations. Now, I've heard it in meetings mentioned and talked about, but I have not seen that letter. Is there?
The exact wording in that letter is, unless Upper Ark is willing to withdraw Custer County out of 3076, we will not sanction or be any part of a Green expansion committee. That's what the letter said, last paragraph.
And there's only one letter that you
Yes.
sent them. Okay. All right, I will
Yeah.
recheck
And
that. Thank you.
I will speak for Commissioner Prince. I think he's paraphrasing.
Okay.
The actual words were, will not sanction. I'm assuming that's where you're going out of it.
Okay, I just thought maybe there was a letter I had missed. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Admin assistant? Nothing. All right.
Audio's working now, so we're good. There was a little mishap before.
Public comment. You're welcome to participate in public comment if you'd like. If you are here for something that's on the agenda, then I would ask that you wait until that agenda item comes up. But if you want to talk about anything else with three commissioners, you're welcome to do that now. We will have another public comment period at the end of this meeting as well. Yes, ma'am.
We would like to speak about the letter that you received from Florence Volunteer Fire Department about
Yes.
coverage for
Okay.
Wetmore.
Yeah,
EMS coverage. And that was not on the agenda.
I know,
And we
and
just
that's
got
fine.
it, yeah.
Yeah,
we
and
just
I've
got
I got it in hard copy, I'm not sure, did you send out electronic copy as well, so I
Yes,
can
you
pull
did,
that up,
yes.
but let's go ahead and talk about that.
And
Yeah.
I spoke to Chief Ritter, and he said he did send it to me and the sheriff's office.
Right.
So
What's it say?
The Florence Volunteer Fire Department, which is also their EMS department, they're not pulling out to assist the fire department. They are unfortunately pulling out to assist in EMS calls in Wetmore. Within the next 30 days, they have 7 EMTs, volunteer EMTs, and they have a very big staffing shortage down there in Florence. In fact, that day that I talked to him, they had a medical call that they could not respond to. They couldn't get AMR Canyon City to respond to, nor could they get Pueblo AMR, to respond to. So we need to do something because Wetmore will be without EMS coverage.
So they can't drive 11 miles, and we can drive 25 down a slippery, steep, crappy road.
And we do because residents in Wetmore want to be transported to Parkview, and they will not transport to Parkview because it takes them out of service too long. As you all are aware, that also takes our ambulance out of, that's what we do. We go to Canyon City, Salida, Pueblo, so our calls from start to finish are anywhere from 3 to 4 hours long. And so...
Sounds like Fremont County has a lot of money to spend, but not the right places.
So one of our challenges is the West Custer County Hospital District, which of course, we are a part of, doesn't include Wetmore. So that's the challenge for us from the legal standpoint is the hospital district doesn't go as far as Wetmore. But in the same token, the right thing to do is care for the patients, the people that are in Wetmore. How does that look? If we can't afford to have 2 full-time crews on, just to have somebody ready to roll to Wetmore, we've been talking about how might this look. We don't know, so we would like to
How
ask.
can they legally stop? I don't get
Well, they're a volunteer service,
I know.
and apparently that area doesn't pay any taxes, doesn't pay any mill levy. They're kind of a standalone. We don't pay for any services. So whether or not the residents there moved there knowing that there wasn't any EMS service, I'm not sure of that. There's a few Wetmore folks here, so perhaps they can answer that. You're right, it's only 11 miles down the road. They have 7 volunteer folks, and they all have full-time jobs. So it is a volunteer service. They had over 1,000 calls last year. I believe that's between fire and EMS, so that's got to be a combination. There's no way they had 1,000 EMS calls last year. So because we didn't have that many, and we're a paid service, and they're not. Now they are trying to make some kind of agreement with a paid service, so then they would become a paid service. But as we know, that takes forever to happen. If they just started to talk about that, that's probably 3 or 4 months down the road. They did say they were going to cover for the next 30 days if they had folks available. So the way the call out structure is now is Florence's first call for Wetmore, Weir's second call. Is that correct?
That's correct. And then Pueblo AMR is second.
Right, then Pueblo is third. So my concern is if we are sending folks to Wetmore, again, out of the official hospital district, we have to make sure that we have coverage here for our local community as well. So that's my little hiccup. But what
Go ahead,
you
sir.
guys?
Just a question, Mr. I get the problem. Do you have a solution, a proposed solution? What are we gonna do about this? We can never ignore people anywhere, especially in our own county.
Correct. We are waiting for call volumes from Florence so we can have an idea how many times they've responded to the Wetmore area as well as AMR.
For
Pueblo.
the year?
Yes, sir. So we can have an idea how that might look. I don't know if we have an answer. I mean, we will respond. We can't not respond. That's because that's the right thing to do is respond. My concern is if I have a primary crew on, right, and then I have a call crew, my second call crew comes in, but again, every time we leave the county, we're gone for at least 3 hours, a minimum of 3 hours. So we have second call coverage most days 24/7. most days. There's a couple of days that we don't have 24/7 second call coverage, pretty close. So I wish I had an answer. I wish I had a magic
Well,
wand.
that's fine. And the reason I even ask is because if it's something that the commissioners could assist with or help with, I would like to have that discussion to figure out what we can do to keep our citizens as safe as possible.
Sure.
Well, let me say that it's sort of a mess right now too, in the fact that dispatch gets a call for a 911 in Wetmore. We call Florence first. It's 15 or 20 minutes before they get back to us, whether or not they can even respond. So
Really?
if they can't, then we call Beth's crew. So that's 15 or 20 minutes that have already elapsed before we even find out if they're going to respond. So in dispatch's point of view, it's more simple to call Beth's crew first. That gives them 15, 20 minutes to begin responding.
And that's what Carrie and I had to discuss, the supervisor of dispatch, is, with, let's just get us rolling down there, because it is a trip for us to go down there in good weather, and in bad weather it's even a little bit longer. But we cannot just let patients in Wetmore. I morally cannot just let patients go in Wetmore. But I believe there needs to be some type of discussion, because do we broaden the hospital district?
Well, being the hospital district that runs the EMS, I personally, and I'm not speaking for the other commissioners, would like you to come to us and say, here's the solution that we've come up with, if it's something that we need to assist you with.
Okay.
This is more important than almost anything we do is a person's health and safety.
Right.
The landfill, if we have to wait another month or two to fund digging a new hole,
Right.
you know what I'm saying.
Gotcha.
So
So-
I'm speaking for myself
Sure.
now, this is not a discussion
Sure.
that we've had.
If you can put us on the agenda for the next meeting, we should be able to get some, again, I think the key is call volume, so we can have an idea.
Okay.
And if there's any kind of trend, if it's a day shift, because there is the Wetmore Fire Department that's already there. We've talked about, do we stage do we put an ambulance there so it's closer to respond?
That's the kind of thing we need to
And
do.
that's what we're thinking about too, but again, it's that second crew and paying them, so that's what we're waiting for. So if you put us on the next agenda, but tell me when that is. When is the next meeting?
The 6th.
The sixth.
June 6th, if
Okay.
that's,
If it's not too crowded, I don't know.
There's only one item on the.
Oh, sweet.
You're
So we
you're
should-
not alone in this issue, is what I'm trying to tell you.
Okay, thank you.
is that enough time, June 6th? The
I
next
hope so.
meeting would be the next day, June 7th, and then after that, June 13th.
Sure, we'll
Sorry,
we'll
not
be
the first.
persistent.
Huh?
That'll be in San Isabel.
Yeah.
San Isabel.
It's probably the 6th or 7th, your choice.
Okay. The 6th
Sixth,
would be
okay.
great.
Mr. Shaw?
Was the hospital district formed the same way as the library district along the school district boundaries?
I'm not sure where the library district is. I know we
Where the
actually
school
go into
district is.
Fremont County.
Oh.
So see, we have like 18 Fremont County residents that are part of the hospital district that actually, that their tax money supports us. It's a really weird little, I wasn't around when that happened. It was like 1988 or something,
Okay.
a long time ago. So,
Yeah, I got a couple comments, I guess. Number one, in reference to the letter that we got from Florence Volunteer Fire Department, a correction of a statement you made, Ms. Lisa, with all due respect. The letter says that over the last 3 years, they have had 1,000
oh, I'm
calls
sorry.
for service.
I stand
So
corrected.
I was like you, when I read it,
I was
first
like,
time,
woo!
I missed that.
I did
1,000
too.
calls
I did
in
too.
1 year. You
We
did
all
show me
do.
that.
Yes, sir. Okay.
But, it says 1,000 calls, over 1,000 calls, whoops, that's all right, no, for service per year
Okay.
for the last 3 years. I
Okay.
missed the per year,
Okay.
so, we were right the first time. So, yeah,
All right.
1,000,
Got lucky.
1,000 calls per year, that's pretty far.
And again, that has to be,
Averaging more than 3
that
days.
has to be fire and EMS. There's no way in the world that Florence,
Still.
Right,
that is a heck of a lot of calls, and they are all volunteers and they all have full-time jobs.
right. Yeah,
So,
yeah. Another thing I wanna just throw out, and believe me when I tell you that there is, what I don't know about this subject can fill a horse tank. But I did a little research. In November of 2014, ballot 4A passed, and it The question was, should Custer County taxes be increased at the rate of up to, I'm paraphrasing a little of it, but there's some other language in there that's not germane to this, at a rate of up to 3 mils as the, or lesser rate as the West Custer County Hospital District Board of Directors shall determine, and dedicated solely to pay the cost of EMS, emergency medical ambulance services, and shall not be used to satisfy any other obligations of the district. I bring that up to ask this question, is what portion of that mill increase is going to, because I don't know that.
So EMS has a 3 mil just for them,
Okay,
and then
so
we
that's
give
full
from
three.
the hospital district another half mil.
Okay. So
So
the 3 mills
the
mentioned in
3
this
mil,
ballot,
that is
all of
cor-
that went to-
absolutely
okay,
goes to
that
that.
was my question.
Yes,
Thank
sir,
you.
and quite frankly, it doesn't come close to covering the bills, but
Okay.
yes.
That was to make it from a volunteer to a paid service
Right.
in April of 14. And when I
Yes.
started, it was $8 an hour with no night pay, and that was whether you were a basic, intermediate, or paramedic. So that was to get us to livable, in quotations I say, livable wage.
And then I want to share something with the commissioners, resolution 17-15, entitled "A Resolution Reaffirming the Board of County Commissioners as the agency responsible for the daily supervisory, administrative, and budgetary authority for the Director of the Office of Emergency Management." Now that doesn't tie into EMS.
No, sir,
okay?
no.
And so I had somebody ask me that. Well, there was a resolution. I said, I will bring that up and we'll get clarification on that. But that's for the Office of Emergency Management.
And I
Now-
think people confuse that Office of Emergency Management and Emergency Medical Services.
Right.
It's very easy to do. You've got the same words in there, they're just jumbled around.
Right.
Yeah.
The OEM is for big
Right.
Mass
incidents,
casualties,
mass
incidents,
casualties,
fires.
fires.
So,
I just have one line.
I said I would read that at today's meeting, so, yeah, well, thank you for bringing that up. Certainly I think we need to collaborate, work together. Right away, I wanted to ask you, how many ambulances do we have up here?
We have
have 3.
We have 3 that are very well stocked, excellent top of the line equipment. And again, our challenge is our staff numbers, and we don't have in our budget. We can certainly go ask for more mill levy money, which will really make everybody happy, to be able to have a second crew 24/7.
Right.
But the call volume in the county doesn't support paying
Right.
to and some of the folks in the county don't get that. There's just, the call volume isn't there to support a second crew
Right.
24/7.
Yeah. Too little to be big and too big to be little.
Yes, sir. That's
Caught
it.
in that proverbial squeeze.
Yeah. So
Thank
we
you.
should be able to get those numbers from those other
That'd be great.
entities.
So we'll look forward to
Okay.
visiting with you some more on it.
Yep.
Just let me know what day you would want on 6 or something.
Okay, appreciate that. Other public comment? If not, we will move ahead. Again, there will be another opportunity for public comment prior to adjournment, so. Unfinished business, gentlemen?
No.
Nor do I. We'll move on. New business. If it is a action item, if we will be voting on a new item of business, I will allow public comment. If you have a question or concern you want to address to the commissioners on each one of these items, you will be welcome to do that. We will try to keep that fairly short so that we don't drag out throughout the middle of the afternoon. So the first item of business, review the vouchers, sign the checks.
I move that we approve the vouchers for the month of May.
I'll second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to approve the vouchers for the month of May. Any questions about that? Comments, conversation? I certainly went through them. I had just a question on one of the line items for the landfill. Yeah.
Yeah, me too, whatever that was.
So I visited with Rusty out at the landfill about that. He said we collected income on those tires, and then we paid to have Interim West Disposal come and get those tires. So that cleared up my question there. Any other questions or concerns? Public comment? One thing I'm going to talk to Donna about, we get it later in the minutes, and you must track this down, the total amount of the vouchers that we approve, because it always shows up in the later minutes.
Yeah, she gives me a total, a sheet, and then after all the handwritten's done.
Cause that's why we don't have a total yet, handwritten, still
Yeah.
to be done, so. Okay,
But they're sizable when you add them up.
yeah, yeah.
Expensive to run this
Yeah.
county.
Yeah, and I'd like to thank Meredith and Donna, cause they were working pretty hard. Every time I called in, that's what they were doing.
Yeah, we had a fly in the ointment this month, so we got that taken care of, so thank you for
The
your
little
efforts.
power outage was a
Yeah.
fun addition.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, wasn't
Yeah.
it though?
Yeah, all right, hearing no further discussion, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of approving the vouchers and the checks to be written for May, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carries. If you'd like to initial those, sir, we'll pass them down the line and we'll keep moving. Next item on the business, on the agenda, the library annual report. Mr. Sean, come forward, sir. Welcome. Good to see you again. How are you?
Good.
Can you believe a year's gone by already?
It's hard to believe.
You gotta shake my hand.
Yeah.
It is a lawyer's hand, but you better check it now.
Should have been in his pocket, that's.
Yeah.
So I was not very clear with Meredith, sorry. It's two things rolled into one. First is the ratification of two new trustees for the library.
Mhm. I think those are two separate documents too, so
Yeah.
give us just a second. It's the last one, WCCLD document for,
Got it. Good, thank
okay,
you.
go ahead, sir, sorry.
So Bart Scott moved away and JD stepped down, which we're sad about both of those. But we found Nicole Parsons, who you may know through her work with the Community Foundation, and Richard Hacker, who was the former judge for the town of Westcliff. Yeah, and they were
Okay.
awesome. So
Wonderful.
we're asking you to ratify this.
I move that we accept the two trustees, Nicole Parsons and Richard Hacker, onto the, West Custer County Library District Board of Trustees.
Good, I'll second.
Moved and seconded to accept Nicole Parsons and Richard Hacker onto the Board of Trustees for the library. Discussion. I have some discussion, and you may have answered it, and I just didn't get it digested. These are 2-year terms typically, but these people are filling some
3-year
terms.
terms.
3-year terms. Okay, sorry, yeah, January 19 to December 3, okay. So, Richard will be filling out,
JD's term
and that will
until-
expire December 31, 2021. Correct?
Yep.
And Nicole, December 31 of this year.
Yeah,
Okay.
She said Richard Hacker.
yeah.
He
He was,
he was already on.
No,
No.
he's added these.
This is the new one. It says 2019. So.
Yeah.
May 31.
It says a draft control.
Okay, I see where it says.
Yeah.
Hacker,
Hacker,
May
right here.
31 today.
Okay, got it.
he's excellent, I know him very well, as when he was the judge of Westcliff. Great outstanding guy.
Further discussion, and that gives you a complete board with these two additions?
Yeah.
Public comment? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed nay? Sorry, let me vote aye. Opposed nay? Motion carried. Richard Hacker and Nicole Parsons have been appointed as Board of Trustees. Okay. Go ahead, sir.
So you do have the full annual report. We're not doing all 18 pages, so we're just gonna
Thank
look
you.
at the summary. So first we have the chart of number of card holders.
Let me ask you something about that. I may have it, but I'm not sure I could lay my finger on the whole 18-page report. Did you send that electronically?
Yeah.
I've certainly got the sheet you're getting ready to discuss, so.
Let's see. So we're up on resident patrons and
Sorry.
down on non-resident patrons, just on the way we choose to classify them. If they have an address in Custer County, we're now counting them as a resident. Previously, we let them tell us where they wanna count the residents as either Custer County or wherever their, other home or real home or whatever they would say.
So you actually define the resident, you have to
Yeah.
live in Custer County.
Yeah.
One of the few organizations in this county that's been able to do that. Perfect.
Well, actually, no, you have to live in, western Custer County.
Right.
Yeah.
In the district.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Let's see, annual visits, we're up, which is good.
Do you monitor that? Do you just actually count people as they come in?
Yeah, we have a door counter.
Oh, they do? I never noticed that. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's a little box and we think it works most days.
Just curious.
Hooked to electricity or the phone line, it does.
So let's see, for collections, we'll see a 0 for music CDs. We removed those because, people weren't really checking out the music CDs and it was taking up space. So this year we are planning to expand the large print section, and we did receive a really awesome donation from Representative Scott Tipton of large print books from the Library of Congress. Don't tell any other librarians you know, so there's more for us. Let's see. For circulation, children's materials keeps going up. And we think it's based on the decision we made in 2017 to waive fines for youth materials.
Thank God my grandkids have abused that.
Let's see.
They love checking them out, they're hard getting them back.
Where is it?
Yeah, so you went from 6,638 in 2017 to 8,600, so an increase of 2,000, that's great.
Ebooks is hovering around the same place. And total circulation's up too. Let's see. So we are seeing a dip in our Wi-Fi usage, but an increase in our public computer sessions. So what that means is more people are coming in to use our computers instead of bringing in their own devices. Our guess for that is that a lot of people have switched from their PCs to tablets and smartphones, and there's still a lot of stuff you can only do on PCs, so they just come and use ours. So on page 2, number of
Let me back up, Sean, if you don't mind, for the folks in the audience who may or may not know this. The library has 7 desktop PCs, 6 laptops, 1 iPad, and 1 Kindle.
number of events, we are down on the number of events. For adult attendance, we're up. And let's see, for young adult attendance, those are teen programs. We're working on ways of figuring out how to get them in. Sports are a big competition for us during the school year. Let's see. So 2018, we actually didn't have any youth volunteers. We typically have a summer intern, but we changed staff from Jessica Carter, who left, to Angela McCaffrey last summer, so we didn't have time to train a new employee and recruit a youth intern. Then we also have our everyday services and resources listed. Yeah, these are things that, as people who work in the library and do it every day, we think everyone knows, but
Right.
we do have questions. People come in and ask them if they can print here, and it's like, that's one of our main things. So it's always important for us to promote our everyday services.
Can I ask you a question about your sheet, please? Second page.
Mm-hmm.
Who is that person?
Angela McCaffrey.
Question?
Is this report online on your website?
No, so here you go.
Well, I just thought people might want to see it, and it should be either on ours or, on the Custer.
Or a link,
Yeah.
anyway.
So like, just say, you wanna go see the report? There it is.
Yeah. Thank you for the suggestion.
Yeah, that might be something you, may wanna talk to our IT director, Vernon Roth, and ask him if he could shoot that up on the county website, or you put it on your own.
Who does your IT?
Good.
I do.
You're the IT wizard.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right, sir, anything else?
Well, I do want to give a shout out to some of our partners, the Sheriff, Public Health, Dark Skies, Chamber of Commerce, and the Art Guild, because we wouldn't be able to do all the awesome programs we do without them.
Thanks for recognizing that.
And I do want to request that the county schedule an intergovernmental agreement workshop, just so we can understand more ways that we can work together and cut costs on some things.
Do you have a time for that, or would you like to do that?
Whenever you guys have time.
Looks like the 6th.
No, but you wanna do this as a workshop?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you could work on that for us.
Yeah, of course.
Cause I think that's an
Give us a
excellent
couple
idea.
of 2 or 3 dates to consider.
Sure.
And next year, we changed the summer reading application to not ask for their address, but to ask if they live in town in West Cliff, in Silver Cliff, in rural Custer County, or out of town for their school year residents, which will be much more usable data. So we're looking forward to presenting that next year.
Out of town or out of county?
To
So
like
you
to
have
change
4,
the-
right, yeah. So if you're already doing county, then that takes out of the 2 towns, right?
Yeah, so
then
it
out
does
of
mean
county.
out of county, yeah, for summer visitors. Cause we are interested to know, are we only serving the people in town? Do we need to change our scheduling? Whatever changes we can figure out from that. And I do have the summer reading program for all the events. And the kickoff party is today at 1 at West Cliff Memorial Park. And I have to run off and help set that up.
Yes. Well, we hope we'll be done with this meeting. No guarantees. Well, thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you. Sir, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. If I remember last year, and I could be off base, but I thought we had a discussion about your physical space, the actual location of the library, and I kinda remember that there were some limitations that you were concerned about. I was just wondering if that's if A, I remember correctly, and B, if that's an issue at this point.
There's certainly a lot of limitations, but no major issues.
Okay, so you're okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's really loud in the summer because all the kids are in.
Well, you're gonna have, you're gonna
Yeah.
group of kids no matter what happens.
Boot the kids out.
All right, sir, thank you.
Thank you
Appreciate
very
it.
much. Excellent report. I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming in. Don't forget,
Thanks, Sean.
Snap and wash your hands.
Yeah.
Especially after class.
Thank you, sir. Okay, next item of business, Silver Cliff Museum. Mrs. Urban, would you like to come forward, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
Hope you're bringing money. How are you?
I'm not gonna ask for money.
Well, that's the next best thing. If you don't bring it, you don't ask for it, we're in pretty good shape.
Well,
Sorry, let me do that for you.
that's okay. I wanna just pass out my business card, so you know who's a bug. I get a lot of bugs coming over my phone, and I've already talked to this man once this week.
I'll still take one of your cards for you.
Yeah, I didn't have them with me. In fact, I had to have some more printed. So why I'm here today, I do have a report for you and for the town of Silver Cliff of what I'm going to tell you today.
Thank you, ma'am.
And I don't have one for you. I did give one to the secretary. I've been in the process of training docents, and you know what that is, so. And, it's a good thing because, we're starting to build our, visitation and having the museum open more days, which you guys requested, so. That, hit the budget pretty bad because the budget was already fixed when you asked for that, but we took care of it. We were open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 1 to 4. And, I do private tours. And that's what I'm working on very hard right now, is going to different agencies, real estate people. A lot of the people in our area, believe it or not, and you probably believe it, were born and raised here, have never been in the museum.
I believe it.
Okay, so, anyway, I'm working very hard on that. I've already made contacts, probably 15 different organizations. And what I'm going to do is take them in the museum privately, it's their tour, and show them what we've done and what we have and what we're going to do, okay? And I would like for you people to do that. I did bring my calendar. I don't know if you have time to select a day. It doesn't have to be the days we're open. I'm fitting in people that can come on their lunch hour, people that come after work. I'm fitting to their schedules to get this done. And for instance, on our open house, it's a good thing I had extra docents trained because I needed all of them. At one time, we had 62 visitors in 2 hours.
Really?
Yes, it was great. And I had a few things for the young people. I had Phyllis Bishop playing the piano, and everybody had a wonderful time. So this is what I want to continue to do. I need to build up the funds and the visitors. And so this is my thing, my mission for this year. So, and I'm out working on it already.
Good.
And I contacted the new Custer Tourism Board, and I understand they're having a newsletter. And we hopefully can use that for the museum and the town for activities. I've already called them and talked to them. Of course, they have deadlines, deadline 25th for July and August already. So, but I'm working on that. And but we're continuing our regular hours now after the open house, which was very successful. So if you would like to select a date now before I go back to these other people to come over for a private tour, you can.
Do you pay your docents?
No, they're volunteers. There's only a couple people that are getting paid that's been there for over 10 years.
Because you mentioned that our request to increase the hours cost you some unbudgeted money.
Right,
What were
and
those
it's to be
costs?
open. Also, we added to the budget, which we really got caught into this, keeping the place clean. So now we have a cleaning lady to come in and clean the place after we have some tours. We have another one that comes in and fixes things. So this winter, that's what we did. We fixed, we painted, we cleaned, and it's kind of up to par. And we did get new windows upstairs. Hopefully that will cut out the dirt coming in. But this is something the board agreed to, and so that's where the extra pay comes in. So those people get paid.
Good.
Yeah, but the trained docents don't get paid.
Donations increase of the people that they, or is it like, you have a box here?
Yes, we do for donations,
Right, so
and we emphasize
you
that
see
when
an
they come
increase?
in,
Yeah.
we need that money
Good.
to keep the place open. And I also added to our tour is, if they're not really a lot of people standing in line, take them outside. There's the laundry, there's the grocery, there's the Geyser Mine, there's Racing Boy, that's Round Mountain, that's the drugstore, and everything of drugstores up in South Park. So, but to show them, because they have more time, if there's not a big crowd, they can look at the items that we have collected from those places. And so that connects them physically with what's outside our front door and when they get inside, yeah.
you ever consider charging an entry fee?
We tried
Just
that.
curious.
We tried that. Say a person comes up, we had a fee for children, and that didn't work. Because they just get back in their car and ride off. And that was the biggest problem. If some parents came in and they had 3 or 4 kids, and we tried to charge them for the kids, they rolled off too. So we lost all that, yeah. So that's why we ask for donation and emphasize that we need this place, the donations, so we can keep the place open. Cause I mean, we even regulated the temperature in the building because that was affecting the artifacts. So now we're paying for propane on top of it, electric and the water, yeah, so we do still have the utilities, so, anyway. So,
I was just looking up on our budget from 2019. We had budgeted originally $6,000, and according to my notes, then we added another $1,000 to that. So that was the highest budgeted of the 10 entities through the Conservation Trust Fund.
right, and we sure appreciate that, and
Right,
thank you
help,
for
that's
that
sure.
money, and also we get some for the Park to Park Trail.
Good.
And I pushed both of those.
Good.
So anyway, but,
So
that
Nate-
money helps, and we happened to get some extra money this last year from another organization that was dissolved, and they have to give that money to another nonprofit. So that's how we could get windows, yeah, so, and the windows, just the 7 windows upstairs was over, I think, over $5,000, yeah. Mhm. And we had a local person put them in.
They're not cheap, they're pretty big ones.
No, yeah, they're the double, and that's just the upstairs, so they were leaking. I mean, you could find dirt in the windowsill, clean it out, and come back the next morning, and it's full again, and, so we get everything that's up high.
So you want to select a date?
Yes, if you could select a date and a time, I will meet you at the museum, and it's your tour.
Well, we meet here on the 6th for a commissioners meeting, but we have a meeting in the afternoon. On the 7th, I don't have anything in the afternoon. 7th of June, Commissioner Prince.
The governor's veterans meeting in the morning.
The 7th of June.
Yeah, which I
that's
told him we
okay.
couldn't attend that because we had a
That's
meeting.
Friday.
I'm
Yeah,
fine
hold on
with,
a second.
I'm fine with that in the afternoon or whatever you'd like to schedule it on for the rest of the day. That's all I
So
have.
what's your schedule look like on the 7th?
Well, we're open that day from 1 to 4.
Well, that'd be
So
cool.
I think you should do it probably before that.
Yeah, that's probably not gonna happen with our agendas.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
sometimes-
Time
So
we-
we'll select the time.
So you'd rather not do it during the
No,
hours
it
that
doesn't
you're
matter.
open?
We'll fit it to what you can come.
2 o'clock?
2 o'clock.
2 p.m.
Or Kendall?
That'll work.
Will that work? I can always have extra help there. It's like for open house, it's a good thing I had, all the extra help because, that took care of the new, docents that I trained. And it's good, that was a requirement that they be there for open house, so they got some good experience.
Good, okay.
2 o'clock. Thank you.
All right, anything else, ma'am?
This is a
All
treasure.
right.
Still wanna
Thank you.
thank you for all the conservation funds,
Oh,
because they
you're
sure
welcome.
do help.
Yes.
This is a treasure.
Yeah, it is a treasure,
We have
and,
to support it.
I'll be on the vouchers for next month, that contribution.
Yeah, CTF money, so you'll be getting a shot in the arm with that. Okay, all right, well, thank you very much.
and now I
Appreciate
will
it.
go to work. My hours
you.
go in there.
Your day will end if you don't shake that gentleman's hand.
That's right. And honestly, I did that the other day and I answered a question.
Yes,
I remember. All right, thank you, ma'am.
Thank
You
you.
bet. Before we move on, gentlemen, I just wanna, and I thought Dawn Hobby was in here somewhere. She sent me a note. Our vouchers today without the handwrittens, which obviously we haven't done those, $448,887.66. So, pretty good chunk. I appreciate her doing that, and,
Packet didn't seem to be as big, even with the bigger checks.
well, yeah, 65 grand for, road treatment. Okay.
Question while we're talking about budget.
Yes, sir.
Have we heard anything about interim district attorney or anything?
I'm not.
Okay.
No.
Just curious, we're still paying our
Yeah.
exorbitant fee a month.
Let's press on for a few more agenda items. Are you guys able to do that? So next item of business,
Especially my daughter.
discussion of, I wish I knew the Latin name, I'd blurt it out there. Come on in, sir, prairie dog.
Tsunamis.
Eradication.
Tsunamis.
Tsunamis.
El Prairie doggos. Hello, sir.
Hello, sir.
The exterminator.
Over here.
Yeah, it's
CY.
I don't know Spanish for prairie or dog. Dog, gato is cat, dog is.
Pedo, pedo.
Beto.
Pedo.
Dog works.
Dog.
How are you, sir?
Good. So it's prairie dog time.
Okay.
So, as you folks probably remember, we got an estimate from the USDA last year to eradicate the prairie dogs in this land that's adjacent to where we are right now. Which the land that you folks recently bought for the Criminal Justice Center, also across the other side of Bassett from there, which still belongs to the Hagas.
Right.
And that's really the part that we're talking about right now.
Those two.
Those two areas.
Okay.
So, they gave us an estimate, and also in the town of Silver Cliff as well, as that continues up into Silver Cliff. So the estimate for this section, which is west of Bassett,
So the
north of
Justice
Hermit
Center.
Lane,
Right. Justice Center
right,
property.
was
Okay.
$2,000. Within that parcel, of course, is town right-of-way on Bassett, and also on Hermit Lane, the right-of-way on the Hermit Trail, okay, which the town would pay for that part.
Are we doing anything on the other side, the east side?
And the other side also. And that's, again, Haga and town of West Cliff and Silver Cliff on that side.
What was that bid? What amount was that?
That was 2,000 also for that.
I saw your.
So- So that's what we're looking at. Everyone else has agreed to do this. Silver Cliff, West Cliff, and the Hagas have agreed to do it. But, they will not do it and don't wanna do it unless the county agrees to. Otherwise, we'll do those areas and then they'll all migrate to folks'
So what
spot.
portion of that 2,000 would the county be expected to cover?
2,000 is an estimate, so what they actually do is, when they do it, they'll count the holes, and we'll be charged per hole.
Okay.
So, the town, of course, would pay for anything in town right away on Bassett
Right.
and on Hermit Lane, in the trail of Hermit Lane, so I
So
could estimate.
it could be less than
15
2,000.
Less than
but
2,000.
it's an estimate, got it.
What about the land that's, right above 69 in the corner right here? It's south, that's to the west of what you're talking about. It's,
Edwards,
North of the Shell station?
yeah, north of the Shell station, empty lot.
empty lot, yeah.
Yes, we got prairie
Probably not a
dogs.
lot of infestation, is there?
Nothing
I've
there,
not seen any.
not much there that they've
Well, you
seen.
hate to spend the money on
Yeah.
that.
Till we do
Yeah, that's
this
what I was gonna
and
say,
they
you don't
go,
wanna,
Well,
we don't wanna miss one.
If we do a good job doing this, there shouldn't be anybody going anywhere except for the big prairie dog hole in the sky.
Yeah, and how they'll do that is that they put a tablet in each hole,
Send them my way.
which creates a phosgene
Send them
gas,
my way.
and they cover each hole. As soon as they put the tablet in, they cover the hole, so there's no danger to
Keep
dogs or
predators out of it.
other wildlife for that. And this only lasts for a few hours, and then it's gone. So,
It's better than those bombs.
yeah. Yeah.
Folks will go there with bombs.
I'll go ahead and I'll move the town support the eradication, excuse me, the county support. I'll take
Get your right hat on, Jay.
Yeah.
that the county support the initiative of the three entities, the two other entities, three other entities, rather. And there's also of the eradication of the prairie dogs on the county property that will eventually be assessed this year.
Or I second that.
I'd say up to $2,000.
Okay, I was gonna ask, is it equal proportions, is that what we're trying to do, share equally, or is it up to 2,000 and that's only as far as our share?
Right.
It ends up being equal, or just one more entity sharing it going west. The Hagas, we don't have them sharing on it, so
Yeah, yeah, they're.
that's the Silver Cliff. Is that a second?
Yeah,
sir?
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to authorize up to $2,000 to contribute to the prairie dog eradication efforts, specifically on the county-owned property where the Justice Center is scheduled to go. Discussion.
Where will that come from? Will that come from building and maintenance?
Yeah, I don't know about that. I suppose it could. I would, ground building and maintenance, that's what I'm thinking.
What's the pot that we had the tennis court in for Silver Cliff or whatever it
We
was?
spent that 4 times.
Did we already spend that other $2,000? I know, I was saying, oh, I was taking out that, we got the extra. I was wondering where it is.
I think there's funds in that.
Since you mentioned that, I don't know if you folks are aware, Westcliff did not get the grant to rebuild the tennis court.
Yeah.
Kathy came and told us.
Right. That's why I was trying to spend what we allocated.
Gosh, Dorothy hadn't
Spent
left.
that money 5 times
We
already.
could have skimmed $2,000 off the museum if she was still there.
You'd be dead.
We're hiring another docent and we're gonna borrow 2.
We have EMS, they're loaded.
We're loaded. Whatever you need, we got it.
Yeah. Gauze, bandages.
Band-Aids.
Yes.
We got Band-Aids, we got splints.
So when do you anticipate this
We got
project
tape to
moving
take your
forward?
mouth shut.
If they're okay, the folks at USDA would like to do that as soon as possible. It's time right now.
So have they pumped out yet, do you know, first round? They should have by now, I would think, but I haven't really been paying attention.
I've seen it.
So it'd be critical to get them after they. So further discussion? Public comment? None? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of getting rid of them rascals? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Motion carries. We will contribute $2,000 to your efforts, sir.
We'll try to keep that number down.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
The lower you keep it, the less money we have to take from the museum. Boy, I better be careful. She'll be back in here. Hey, sir.
It's too late now.
No, it isn't.
I'm sorry.
It's somewhere on that side.
When you said you were sorry, you meant you were apologizing, or is that a stated condition for you? Both. All right, thanks, Mike. We're going to try, sir. I don't know if we'll have any luck, but we'll try to keep it going. Consideration of approval of the CTO grant. I'm assuming, Charlie, that's why you were here?
Missed one.
Yes.
Oh, I skipped one? Sorry. If I did, it's not on my agenda.
Letter to support Wet Mountain Valley Water Planning Grant.
Oh, well, I am on the wrong agenda. I gotta quit using the one I get electronically and use the one I get in paper copy.
I've got it.
Consideration of letter of support for the Wet Mountain Valley Water Planning Grant.
Who's leading that?
That would be Miss Linda.
And I'm not gonna miss you.
That's right, there you go. And I did get the paperwork, I just am looking on a different agenda. Thank you. Charlie, I apologize, sir.
She's gonna spin you a yarn.
Yeah, we'll watch her. Let me get the time started. How are you?
I'm fine, and
Good.
you?
Well, thank you. Thanks for being here.
It sounds like I might be one person with a yes from you, we might be able to access $80,000 to work
Okay.
on water and sustainability planning.
Yeah, we don't need it. Tell them
So I printed out the GOCO Greater Outdoors Colorado grant application that went in yesterday. It went in conditionally.
Okay.
And the condition is that when we submitted the grant pre-proposal, it was San Isabel going to do the work in a broad range of partners. And the feedback that we got is this type of work is most appropriately done with the county as the lead person directing and being right alongside San Isabel in the project. And so when I talked with the grant administrator, she said, put it in pending approval. So there's three ways to go. You could say that you don't support it at all. You could provide a letter of support and say that you don't want to be a partner, or you could be a partner and write a letter of support.
Does that entitle us to pay, co-pay on grant applications, like a
No, if you,
I haven't read it.
yeah, if you turn about halfway back through the, but if you look too, about halfway back through, there's a budget form. And if you look, the fourth column over is Custer County.
Yep.
And the cash total for your contribution is 0. If you go on down in that next part down, in kind, we wrote you in, assuming that if this project goes forward the way we would, we're looking at it, which is basically to hire Mike Lunn, which Tom Flower met last year and quite a few people in the community did. He is a very skilled consensus facilitator who's resolved issues all over the western US. But we would be hiring probably his firm or someone else to come in and work with anybody who wants to come to the table to develop the long-range strategic plan that I think all of you heard me talk about in your economic prosperity planning meetings and when we met at Rancher's Roost. So the GOCO grant is completely tied to the public meetings and the process of developing a shared plan that then San Isabel and anybody else who wants to do it could write grant proposals to bring more money to the table to get the work accomplished.
So you wrote us in for $384, is that what that is?
No, that's 384 hours.
Okay.
Yep, and so that's.
I couldn't correlate that, it says on the
Yep.
side it has a total of $15,000.
Yeah, well, I had to, they use standard figures, so we guessed your cost at $40 an hour. And, there were 8 meetings. We figure it takes as much time outside the meeting as it does inside the meeting, so 16 hours. And I figured all 3 of you would like to participate in something like that, so that's how we came up with in-kind donation of $15,360. So that is not cash, that's your time.
So how many meetings did you figure?
8.
8
Over a 2-year period.
So it's 4 a year.
And only in the
Quarterly.
winters, yeah, only in the winters when ranchers can be there, because so much of this is about the people who are out in the valley. So, let's see, what else do you need to know about this? San Isabel, if you look at the cash that goes into this, San Isabel's in $35,000. We're asking Colorado Water Conservation Board to help fund our hydrologist position and any more water planning help that we need to understand the physical basis, because this whole proposal is built on what we've all learned as we've talked about the OG plan and planning and zoning, and that's that water is to a large extent a limiting factor in the economy, the quality of life, housing, taxation, and how the county, fills their coffers. And so CWCB, the Colorado Water Conservation Board, is the place to go if you want money to get science around water. And so this afternoon we're putting in a pre-proposal to CWCB that is this same thing, just saying what we want from you is money to help get the science of water.
Question. You gave 3 suggestions for the counties involved, well, 2 for the county involved and 1 non-county involvement.
Yeah.
We've often written letters of support for projects similar to this. And the county then becomes the fiscal agent to handle the money that comes in, the money goes out. If we take your third alternative where it sounds to me like would be the best, and correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds to me like that might be the most if we did that, most likely that this would go through. Would the county then become the fiscal agent for the money that's transported through this project?
My understanding is if and only if you want it to be that way.
Got it.
And if we didn't, then who would be?
We would.
What does
San
lead
Isabel.
partner mean?
Lead partner means that with Greater Outdoors Colorado, there are 2 grants that are going through right now. One is called Conservation Excellence, and the people who are usually competitive in that are conservation groups, wildlife groups and land trusts like us. The other one is called a planning grant. And those planning grants through Greater Outdoors Colorado go to local government. And so that's what it means by lead partner with this. So this is a GOCO Conservation Excellence Grant, but when I talked to the grant manager, she said it's a very strong proposal, but it might have a better chance going through the planning grant, because so much of this is about us helping the community instead of the community helping us.
I liked how you tied it into the strategic plan we had. That wasn't good enough for them?
Well, the strategic plan does not directly address the science and the outcomes of what we understand about water.
But it addresses what the result of having the water is that we want.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think if you would look through this and take a little time, what you'd see is that this is not to supplant, run over the top of, or conflict with anybody else's. What we would like to do is put together an overarching document that pulls all the pieces together and frankly allows us to go and do some fundraising to get some of the infrastructure that we need. There's another grant that San Isabel that I wrote a letter of support for that went in at the same time, and that is a beginning farmer and rancher grant that Colorado Open Lands and Rocky Mountain Farmers Union Young Farmers Coalition went. And there's a chance that they're gonna access a couple $100,000 worth of money to find a way to help resolve the issue of our ranchers are old. And we need to be able to have young people have the ability and the skills to take care of this land, because it's clear that conservation in this landscape is on the backs of agriculture. That's who does it, that's who we need to support. So kind of the underpinning of why do you try to put all these different planning processes together is that's how you can go and access bigger funds to come up with alternatives. Another alternative that we've talked about is getting in front of the buy-in drives that are inevitable here. You know, there's one on the ground already, and there's 3 or 4 more that could happen as quick as this summer. And one of the ideas that some of the people in the community have been talking about is there a way that we can develop legal and financial ability to keep that water on the land in agriculture in the Wet Mountain Valley. And we need help to look at that. That takes attorneys, that takes engineers, that takes a lot of people that cost a lot of money, and we just don't have the expertise. And so San Isabel's primary thing that we're working on for at least the next 2 years is water. This is our newsletter that's just coming out, and about all we're talking about in it is water. And to really be of use to the county, we feel like we need to help bring some money to the table and expertise, and that's what this is about.
That's a question, Ms. Booth. Obviously, it sounds like a excellent program, and I suspect the county will want to support you. But what would you recommend that we do to help of the levels you asked us? How can we best support you?
I would like to see you be the lead partner. I would like to, you know, if they keep us in the conservation excellence, we have a better chance with San Isabel's name as lead partner, because that's how the money goes. But we'd like you to be partnering with us, you know, shoulder to shoulder. If it goes through the planning grant, alternative, it's better if you were the lead partner.
Okay. And if we're the lead partner, the commitment for the commissioners would be to attend their meetings and to send a letter of support for the project.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
Yeah, and in both cases, we've reconvened a group of people talking about water that's built largely around the augmentation plan at this time, but San Isabel years ago had a water focus group. A lot of good people that were thinking about water years and years ago. And we've already reconvened that, and we would love to have the county participate if they want to, if they can. I'm not sure about the laws. But the other part is you know, this is, if you read this carefully, you'll see it's very broadly and openly designed for it to work the best. If you have time to sit down and put your thought process into how do we set up these meetings, is there something more important? We're gonna be defining science requirements and needs, and we definitely need to talk with the county about that because of your planning and zoning and any questions that you have. We'd like to have this dovetail.
When is it due? What's the deadline?
It went in.
It's already been submitted.
It's already been submitted.
It went
So
in,
how do we become a
conditional.
partner after the fact?
Well, if you look at it, on page 1, applicant right now is San Isabel, partner if applicable, Custer County
It says
Board of.
pending.
Yeah, pending final approval, so this is how it goes in.
So when does that pending have to be ratified? I'm sorry, I was asking the question. Sorry.
I apologize, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I told the grant officer that we were meeting today and I didn't know what it would take after that.
Go ahead, sir.
Typically, we divide up the responsibilities, so instead of having 3 members of the commissioners, one commissioner would go and then they report back to the other commissioners. Is that acceptable? Because you're talking about 3 of us going, and I thought that seemed beyond the scope of what we normally would do.
You don't all need to go. And my guess is the amount of time that, any time that the commissioners spend talking about water, planning, zoning, anything to do about the economic tax base and stability of this county and how that interacts with whether this is agriculture or 35-acre subdivision, all that time can count as in kind. So it's fine. You know, you make your decisions about how you spend your time. I do think that strong direction and leadership from the county is important in the overall success of this project.
I'm in favor of this.
So GoCo's share of this will be 13% of $3,004.
Of $304,445.
What I just said, but that's what I meant.
Yeah, we're asking for $40,600 from GoCo and $40,000 from Colorado Water Conservation Board.
Somebody said to me that this was just an effort to pay for your hydrologist. I see that your hydrologist is being paid out of the San Isabel Land Trust and CWCB, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Currently?
No, it's being paid totally by us right now.
Okay. What's group's pleasure?
I'm not comfortable enough, but I know enough about it to see if it doesn't conflict with something or some other program we got going here from the county point of view or the planning and zoning guys. How does it dovetail? I mean, keep saying dovetail. But you caught us at the spur of the minute here. I'm aware of it, but I'm just a little concerned.
Okay, well, let me check and see what day the emails went out.
The first emails went out in April about this.
I remember seeing that.
Yeah.
But I haven't thought about being a partner.
I didn't either until.
And I don't know what that means, other than what you just said.
Well, I look at the paragraph, says the primary challenge of this project is obtaining funding. I think that's what you're after here, right? There's an opportunity to go after some funding. I don't have a problem with it. It'd be different if you were asking us to kick in 20, 30 grand that we're in the budget for and probably don't have, but that's not the case, so.
But you are asking for us to put our name on it, not the county, and that's why I'm worrying about conflict. I don't know, Clint, you've been listening.
Well, the other question I've got, if there's a grant coming to the county, then Donna's gonna have to handle that.
That's right.
money.
Right, she said that the fiscal agent is gonna be SILT.
Well,
It
but
could either way.
well, I think that if it's a county grant, I don't know that we can farm that out to somebody else. I mean, we can be the fiscal agent for grants coming to, the land trust, but for one that's coming directly to the county, I don't see that. We'd have to ask Donna for sure. I mean, like, we have the kids council, that's just a, pass-through thing. They handle all the money, write the checks, and the money just goes through the county treasury, but, I think for this, the money would have to be actually handled by Donna. And that's
Even
some-
if San Isabel was the fiscal agent for the.
Well, I don't
we
think
were
they
just a
can, I
partner.
don't think they
He's
can
saying
be a
that's
fiscal agent for the county, I don't know.
Well, not for the county, for this grant.
Right.
They would be the fiscal agent for this grant, we would not.
Well,
We
but
would
for
just be
the
a
planning
partner.
grant, she said that's a grant that comes to the county, is my understanding.
Those grants are usually granted to municipalities and counties. My understanding from the grant officer is that you do not have to handle the money, that you can say San Isabel, we write this proposal together and San Isabel is the primary partner, for implementation, handles the money. The county is the applicant, not the one that has to handle the money.
I guess I
Which is
need Donna's
atypical.
input on that.
Yep, and we can look into that more too. With CWCB, the Colorado Water Conservation Board, that is a pre-proposal that goes in. The final proposal for that doesn't go in until August the 1st. And that's the one that typically the money is handled through a municipality, if that's who the lead partner is.
Broadband thing. Can't use about any cost.
Well, I don't know, after listening to council, I'm assuming we probably should talk to Donna and see what she thinks about this.
She's probably watching right now, listening to this.
I can about guarantee you she is.
She'll come running over here if we.
Well,
She'll
I'll
come
get a-
running over soon.
I'll get a little message on my computer, but, I know you're in kind of an awkward position having already submitted this.
Submitted, like I say, conditionally, pending.
Right.
How long,
Puts
you
us in
just found out
spot.
about this, right? Is that
No, this is,
partnership?
this,
Now, I've read your emails,
Right.
there's been several of them on this over the last few months, and I've been up to date on it. I've always said, I think this is a great thing. This is, unless I missed something or just glossed over it, this is the first time I'm seeing that we are a partner in this project with you.
Sort of
And I
presumption.
I agree with Commissioner Kanda that surprises are always something that we cringe at,
yes,
So we need to really fully understand what is our obligation, how much time, what resources we have to throw at this. I don't mean throw at, I mean to support it, what's it gonna cost the county, either in manpower or time. Donna is one who would have to take on the financial responsibilities, and I'd like to hear from her going, no problem, or, yeah, I mean, I'm overworked already, I run over, those are the kind of questions I have. So I agree with you, just, asking for approval without getting some of our answers, it's gonna be difficult for me at this moment. It doesn't mean I don't support the project, cause I support, every time I read everything, I said, this is great, let's get the money, let's get answers to some of the major looming questions we have, like what water we have, where is it, how much do we have, all those questions that come along with water. And this is, everything I've read from you about this leads me to believe it's almost exclusively water related. And obviously that's the hot topic of 2019 in Custer County. Along with the Justice Center and the landfill and the other things.
$400,000 worth of bills that you just paid.
Yeah, so.
Would you like to talk with Donna?
I would be happy to do that. I would be happy to, if you have specific questions, that I can answer through email or coming back in to meet with you, I would be happy to do that. The one alternative where if there is no letter of support and you don't wanna be partners, all that does with this grant proposal is it means that it stays in conservation excellence. It doesn't go over into having the chance for funding through through two competitive lists. That's all really it
I don't
does.
think we're at the point of saying we're not interested at this point. I don't think we're at that point. I think the consensus is going to be, we wanna support it. We just need to make sure that we're doing it appropriately, judiciously, financially properly, and those kind of things.
Yep.
That's the question we really have at this point.
I understand.
That's my suggestion.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to the issue of being presumptuous or blindsiding someone, the grant officer, has taken, she understands how important this is, and it was her idea completely. She says, submit it through Conservation Excellence, you can do that pending a partnership, because you only have to be the only one there, but if you can get the county to say that they wanna help direct this project, then if it doesn't succeed in Conservation Excellence, it can go through the planning grant process. And so it was her at the last minute saying, let's try to get this thing funded, let's try to get money for Custer County to resolve these things.
So on that note, the fact that it sounds, she did it, okay, well, let's see if we can get the county. So what is her timeline? Does she have a week? Is our back up against the wall? Cause reacting, you know, we've had that happen to us before. Let's do it now, we have no other chance to do it. Matter of fact, people have put things in our, here, we've gotta get this out, cause it's due tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so what is this pending time?
There's not a date on
Okay,
it. I
so we
told
got
her I
time to
was,
really understand it.
I told her I was talking with you. I don't know when the proposals go off of her desk to see, you know, to go to the next phase, cause that's the point when they come off Alex's desk. That's the point where we need to say, is the county part of this, or just one more seat at the table with everybody that's involved.
Well, I would recommend maybe having a conversation with Donna, see what she thinks. We can put you back on the agenda for the 6th or 7th if you're gonna be around. We can have another conversation and go from there.
Okay, I have the information on a thumb drive for the entire proposal. We did find out what went on with the mailing in April, because I was sending my information to Meredith at Custer County Gov, not BOCC admin.
Right.
So at least we figured out that mess.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
This is exciting.
They had Meredith crossing her eyes on 2 emails.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Mike.
Sir.
Need a break?
Well, I would beg your indulgence. I've been sitting here since 8:30.
You lasted twice as long as I did.
Can you do about 3 or 4 more minutes in the
Yes, of
holding
course,
pattern? I'm
of
sorry,
course.
you had a question.
I'll stand here and shake.
Okay. I apologize.
In case I forget.
All right, so we'll stand in recess for about 3 minutes, young.
So you keep them busy?
Oh, ridiculous.
Oh, yeah, go ahead and sit. Come on over, you.
Turn things on.
Yeah, door shut.
Talk it over with her.
Okay.
I am.
He sounded like someone.
No.
But it's just she wasn't, I was asking so much.
Yeah. Well, her thing is, she's a responsible kid, and she's not always accessible via phone, you know. Yeah.
It went very well.
You know, it's really good. There's more behind that. And
Have you been?
call the meeting back to order. Let the record show 10:49. Good morning, sir. Thank you for your patience. Oh my gosh.
That's
Appreciate
fine.
that.
So, all three of you attended the last tourism board meeting, and I don't remember, I know gradually we lost some of you, and one of the topics that was discussed and passed was a resolution to have a project this year that is not a significant amount of money, but what it will lead to next year is something that's not standard operating procedure, but it's where our board would be lead applicant for a $25,000 marketing grant from the state of Colorado. And that's bigger than we've ever tackled before.
How many thousand?
25,000. So there's a $25,000 match, but the approach that we're taking, and the reason we are willing to, and what I want to review with you is a MOU with VistaWorks, where we're expanding the scope of their work this year to the tune of $1,000 to herds and cats. And by that, I'm referring to several counties or other entities that will be sub-applicants on a project for this large marketing grant. And the essence of that marketing grant is to copy what has been fairly successful in central Colorado, mostly around the I-70 and steamboat corridors, where they have the Colorado tourism main site that gets something like 20 million visitors a year, has a hot springs tour. So, and it's fairly unique, and we've had some informal discussions with people at the Colorado Tourism Office that indicating that yes, they really like the idea of having a new page, and it's the idea of this area being a stargazing tour. You start in Westcliff, and guess what? Maybe they'll just stay here for the whole week, or then you could go to Huerfano County, or the Sand Dunes, or Crestone, or even possibly over into the Lake City. So, so the essence is we're just allocating $1,000 this year that will in turn lead to a grant that has to be submitted in September, and then that grant would come in early 2020. We would be the fiscal agent for the other counties. And that's the reason a couple of weeks ago I sent to Donna and to Clint a heads up with an outline of this concept with the MOU, whereby we'd be paying part of the money with VistaWorks that they would be earning on this project would be to be doing the reporting for the spending.
So it's like one big tour guide deal.
Yeah, it's basically kind of branded around a region as opposed to.
Who does that? Who's presiding? Who's accountable for putting together what is it? A pamphlet, a map, a bunch of people talking about it on radio stations? What is it?
Well, we won't know that until we get into it, but probably all the above. So more than likely it would be a combination of digital media, perhaps brochures,
Is there a leader? Is there a lead organization?
Yes,
you guys.
Custer
for
County.
all of it.
Right, but
Trying to
we're gonna rely pretty heavily on VistaWorks to develop that marketing plan.
Now, when you say Custer County, do you mean Custer County or do you mean Tourism Board?
Custer County Tourism Board.
Okay.
I'm not asking you, the impact and the reason I routed this whole concept around to Donna was obviously there's gonna be $50,000 incremental of money in and money out. And so that's more checks, etc. The idea is between the Tourism Board treasurer and VistaWorks that we're doing any incremental reporting to the
So that's
other
on your
counties.
budget, the budget you control, right?
Right.
So, I'm a little confused as to what is it that you're asking us for?
Well, so
Or is it
is
just information?
to avoid you guys being surprised
Blindsided.
in January that we're having additional $50,000 to spend, and really, and that's really, and more than likely when we get to the applications, they'll probably say, hey, the county commissioners support this initiative, and that's really it. And, I have a couple questions though. One of them is whether or not, don't know, whether the head of the tourism board, what we call the chairperson, is authorized to sign what is really $1,000 commitment, but it obviously is gonna lead to a $5,000 commitment next year. And whether or not, if we'd be receiving $20,000 of funds from other counties. So is that treated the same way as the funds coming from the tourism tax, where the treasurer is going to take the 5% or not? If it is, that might create some eyebrows raising with the other counties.
I think that would be a Donna Hobby in Virginia question. I'm certainly not capable to answer that. So
Tell you
yeah,
what.
you can sure ask.
I really appreciate you bringing this, is what you should be doing, because it does impact the questions we'd have. Is your budget big enough to handle? What are you gonna throw out if you're gonna be accountable for $5,000 next year that you didn't plan for? You're gonna get new money here. I don't know, it's good to know that
So $5,000 is 10% of our budget, and quite frankly, it doesn't mean that it's an incremental 5,000.
That's right.
We're doing the same things anyway, it's just saying this is what we're gonna allocate to this grant.
changing your advertising.
So this is really a dark sky grant, huh?
Well, I wouldn't characterize that, but I would say that's the emphasis of the branding, but there's really gonna be two layers of this, in that each county has their own unique coolness, let's call it. But the common theme is the dark skies. But then, it's not, quite frankly, I don't think that's enough to bring a huge number of people, but if you don't have something else to go with it, but thankfully to people like Linda and people in the valley, we have a beautiful scene, and it's that plus everything else. But yes, the excitement behind the Colorado Tourism Office, and the reason that they think it's unique enough to create a new page and support it, is because of the stargazing capabilities.
I see that there are 7 participants, of which one is Custer County.
Yeah.
Would Custer County or your board handle the finances for all 7, or is each one gonna have their own revenue stream coming in?
No, we would be the fiscal agent for all 7, and the idea is that there'll probably be a group. The Sand Dunes is out. I met with the director of the Sand Dunes 2 days ago.
Okay.
They can't spend money on marketing, but they can support it in other ways.
Sure.
So Creed and Del Norte will probably be a big one, but essentially they'd be sometime in January. We'd have 4 checks for $5,000, and then the county would get $25,000 from the state, and then we would be reporting the use of that funds for this marketing initiative.
Okay, so just, because I may not have understood exactly.
Okay.
The money that comes in for all 7 counties, or it's not 7 counties, 7 entities, would
6.
flow through, well,
Sand Dunes is out,
okay,
so it leaves 6.
right, okay. The money that comes in for everybody will go through Custer County somewhere, not individually to them.
Correct.
Got it.
Correct.
And so the Dark Skies group has hired VistaWorks
No.
already? Oh,
No, it has nothing to do with Dark Skies Group.
it says the Dark Sky group has decided to hire VistaWorks.
Project Phase 3.
Well,
No,
Vista,
phase 1.
so Vista,
Leaving 3 separate.
Vista Works is referring, in this case, the Dark Skies Group as the participants. And those participants are going to change and morph for a little bit probably. So in other words, Huerfano County, San Luis Valley Tourism Association, some way, shape, or form could come through SLBGO, which is Great Outdoors Organization. Could be San Luis Valley, Trust Foundation, Community Foundation. So where the exact funds will come from and who the entities will be, but the spirit of it is it's basically surrounding both sides of the Sangre Crystals.
And because we hear a lot that the town of Westcliff and Silver Cliff are dark skies communities, they're not on this list. I'm wondering why.
Well, because, I guess we are, representing all their taxpayers, I mean, everybody. So the county encompasses the towns, that's the simple way I would put that. You know, if there's somebody there that wants to participate as an ex officio, join the members, that would be, acceptable. Is that your thought, that they just like?
Well, I just thought they would jump all over this whole dark skies thing because that's what they're into. So I just was a little surprised to not see the two towns listed as.
Well, Westcliff next to Custer County.
Well, yeah, I'm not sure what that means exactly, but.
Well, so, by item number 2, I'm referring to technically the Custer County Tourism Board. It gets, and that's that's generating revenues from the lodging tax that takes place in the county and into the cities.
Yeah, see, in the world we live in, when you have Custer County written down now, you're talking about us funding something. So that's, I understand what you're saying now, it's not, it's number 2, it should be Custer County Tourism Board, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, but there was a legal document, yeah.
I think this is wonderful. You're gonna get extra money to help bring more people in to all the areas, including Custer County, who are gonna spend time in restaurants and hotels. And there's no expense to the county that I'm hearing. Thank you for the update. That's all I can say. I don't know what else to say.
Well,
Can I just interject? I wanna make it clear. Custer, or Dark Skies, the nonprofit corporation, has nothing to do with this.
Right.
Got it.
Sorry.
Well,
Just
what
fact
is the
is
Dark
it
Sky
exists.
Group? I'm confused then. The Dark Sky Group, I thought that was your.
no.
They're using Dark Skies in a generic
Oh.
fashion, apparently.
All that, so the author, so VistaWorks is referring to Dark Skies Group as an informal working group that has representatives from all the people listed under.
So there's Dark Skies interest in all those organizations that, in Crestone, for example.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, gotcha.
And so I get the fact that if they got somebody going to Crestone because of that or for other reasons, that you also are gonna advertise that will head over to Westcliff, because there's other things you can see. Is that right? Is that sort of the
Yeah,
concept?
the idea is
Why
that
would we throw in together?
the idea is the economies of scale, and if someone says, well, I don't wanna go to Westcliff necessarily because there's going to, only 5 restaurants or something like that, but if I say I'm gonna spend 2 days there, and 2 days over in Crestone, and then go up to Saguache County, then sure,
Okay.
we'll see which one is best. And,
Right.
may the best spot win.
So your point being here is what? Just to inform us, to get us to do anything?
And not to do anything as a
Right,
heads
good.
up, but I'm asking, I have two,
Oh,
I have
but
2
there's a
questions.
but.
I'm asking 2 questions.
I knew it.
Is that, who signs it? Is the
Oh, I
chairperson
see.
of
Yeah.
the
Now and that's
Custer County Tourism Board authorized to sign an MOU to spend this $1,000? And to engage
Okay,
in
so
this
let me ask you
process?
this question.
Yeah,
Is it within your budget?
yes,
And has your group authorized it?
yes.
I have no issue
That's
with
right.
your chairperson signing it.
Okay.
That's right.
That's my opinion.
And I would've had an issue if you hadn't told us. This is very good, open
I think
discussion.
this is wonderful.
Yeah, I think it's perfect.
Well, the initial question was if Custer County has to be the fiscal agent for this. I mean, and if so,
Right.
would be like the Custer County Kids Council
Right.
that
Yep.
Donna handles.
That's exactly
But just, the money passes through her, she doesn't have to do any other work than what, write the checks, I guess, or sign the checks or
Which
something.
she does now.
And I touched base with Donna and I explained that was my understanding of what they were asking for, and she didn't seem to object to that, so
Great.
that there's no other burden on Custer County except her involvement.
I commend you and your group for this project.
Thank you, I appreciate it. I'm glad that's on the recording.
And I think we're okay for having
Got a question
a
in the
rep
back.
from the tourism board to sign this.
Yeah,
MOU.
yeah, they have their own budget and they're authorized.
I don't
to
get
do
to
that.
shake your hand.
Oh.
That's all I'm gonna
Charlie.
do.
We gotta do it twice.
Thank you. All right, I feel like I'm in
Question?
the parade.
Did somebody have a question?
Yeah, Angie did.
Yeah, and I can wait till the end.
Thank you. That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll move forward. Next item on the agenda, I better go with the paper
I
copy.
don't know if you can get off the floor.
How's this, Rockies?
Hi there, it's Rocky's Day, so.
Yeah, discussion of the
Yes,
public
yes,
health
right.
lease. Welcome, good
Yes,
morning.
thank you,
How are
thank you. Good, how are you? Do you guys have a copy of the lease? Do you need a
Yes,
copy of the lease?
no,
Okay,
we've got it.
just wanted to ask a question, if you can help me understand the status of the exit of the lease and the terms to the lease and where we are.
Go ahead, that's fine.
I'm gonna start with a motion, and then we can discuss from there. I move that we extend the lease through June 30th, as a discussion that I understand you've had with Alyssa, and that we fund it through end of June.
Okay,
And
I'll
that
second.
June has the and that public health has an opportunity to remain in the space during the period of time that we pay. Is that gonna make life easy for you?
Well, it's been moved and seconded to, I guess at this point, offer, since it's a motion,
Right.
offer to continue the lease till June 30th, at $1,000 a month. Does that encapsulate your motion, sir?
That's exactly what I'm trying to say.
Thank you.
Too many words.
All right, discussion. So that's why we're here.
Yeah, that's why we're here, so like I said, I just wanted to try to understand what was happening, you know, we had a lease that said, 90 days notice, that didn't occur, there's with cause, there's without cause. Again, here's what I'd like to say is, we, the Custer County Medical Center and Custer County Public Health will continue to work together and collaborate for the patient, that's why we're here. I believe that Alyssa and I are very much on the same page. We had a very open, honest conversation, please correct me if I'm wrong. And as two people who were representing their entities, we thought we came to a conclusion that we would split the difference in the balance of the lease.
Yeah.
That's what we thought.
Right.
And then there was some correspondence to the contrary. So that was,
Yeah, so, I think you're right on track with what has transpired. I think we, as commissioners, found ourselves in a position, and I did question Alyssa, personally, to say, I'm not sure you have the authority to negotiate a lease when the county is the signatory on that lease. So I said, we need to probably back up a little, and I believe then Lisa came back to you, Alyssa, sorry, came back to you and had that conversation, and so it's been a little helter-skeltery. We weren't real comfortable either, because I believe, we as commissioners want to have a positive, working, collaborative effort with the county, or with the clinic. So I think we had to kind of draw back, take a breath, and say, let's just slow down a little bit. So your request to be on the agenda was perfect.
okay. Yeah, so why she and I talked is because she was the signature of the lease, she signed the lease. You guys didn't sign the lease, right, correct. So that's why I went to her to have that discussion, so, otherwise I would've,
Perfectly
so,
fine.
thank you.
Perfectly fine, that
So,
was the explanation.
What do you feel about continuing that lease till the end of June?
I feel like that's what we agreed to, so absolutely, and I told her if you need more time, let us know. We're not at any means kicking them out, or, they're great neighbors, we love having them there. We think it's a great opportunity for them to have a new space, double the size, same price, I mean, for them it's a great thing. We talked about, this isn't a divorce.
Right. Okay.
This is the in-laws are moving out.
Yeah, we
kind of
never.
thing. I mean, really.
No, the in-laws are staying.
Okay.
At least my perspective was that it never did cross my mind that you were asking them to leave. That came
Absolutely.
from our end. We never, I don't think we did, gentlemen, do you?
No.
I
That was never the
sensed that.
impression,
So,
no.
I just think we got a little ramped up and ahead of ourselves, and I don't wanna say panic, but probably should have had this conversation first, a month ago or a couple weeks ago anyway.
Perhaps.
But thank you for
Sure.
reaching out and wanting to come have a conversation with us. So, Counselor, what's your feelings?
That's fine, I think it satisfies everybody at this point, so we don't need to go into anything
Right.
else.
So,
I mean, the lease was for a longer period of time, but it's by agreement on the record to terminate it as of June 30 now.
Sure.
Okay. Are you okay with not having a formal amendment to that lease, or?
I feel like I don't need a formal amendment to the lease. I feel like when I spoke to the representative of public health, when she said that's what we were gonna do, I believe that was the truth, so.
And you know
I
what,
feel
then
like
I was
that's
out of
good.
line, I thought we
We're good.
also signed that lease.
No,
But
sir,
if
you did not.
she's the
Yes.
signatory on the
Yeah.
lease and we authorized to do that, then I
Yes.
was out of line, and I apologize to both of you,
It's okay.
particularly to Alyssa. 'Cause we were just coming out of a meeting in Colorado Springs with some attorneys over the water thing, and Alyssa called and said, this conversation I had. and
Well, that's what I thought.
But the point
Because I-
still
yeah.
is valid, though.
Yeah.
We authorized.
You were,
Yes.
you were correct.
Yeah, so, my apologies.
No worries.
So I think we're excited about this move. This doubling the square footage thing is great, and we're gonna leave that internet connection in place
That
on
would
the
be great,
clinic.
Cause we're only gonna need that actually till July 1,
Okay,
and then we
Okay.
should be up and running with 200 up and 200 down, so we should be golden.
nice, well, we'll pray
That's
for
what
that.
we're hoping
'Cause
for.
One, I thought it was August 31st, but
Well,
that's come
that's-
up, so.
It has to
that
be in
date.
by July 1, and then
Okay.
our new EHR will hopefully come by August 1, so.
All right, well, let's vote.
Further discussion, we're not gonna vote yet. Public comment? Yes, ma'am.
Well, I have a signed
Voucher?
voucher
Okay.
for payment for June, so I'll get that.
So we will
the-
probably do that in handwritten, I'm assuming. I'm
So I
not
was gonna
speaking
go to
on,
Donna for.
not
Yeah.
speaking on behalf
I'll have
of
to
our
do.
finance.
Cause what is the
department.
charge, $5 a day for, which of course we will waive.
It actually is.
But I'm
yeah.
saying, it does.
I feel
No
like
worries.
we might have donated some things to the clinic over the last year that could
Well,
just
stop
be
it.
in kind for
Stop
that.
it. We don't need this conversation.
Public comment, anything else? Let's listen. Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of extending the lease to June 30, 2019, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, pose nay, motion carries. Thank you.
Thanks.
Productive way to do business.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Go Rockies.
Thank you, go Rockies, go Rockies. Go Yanks. Yanks.
Thanks again,
Not
Lisa,
been
appreciate
lost.
it.
Thanks, Evan.
Appreciate you hanging in there with us, thank you. Next up, we have a letter of resignation to deal with. Ms. Howard, would you come forward, please? You rascal, you can't sit back there without one final go-round of a handshake and all this.
Oh, I can
other
come give you a
stuff.
staff report next week. I'm not
Well, that's
at the
true.
door
You
yet.
could.
Depends on,
Yeah, you wouldn't be, would you?
no,
Because,
I would not be, cause I
I
have
don't
some
know
work
what-
to finish up.
yeah. Well, for the sake of our audience, Cindy Howard's our Director of Office of Emergency Management. She has resigned that position effective close of business on June the 7th. We weren't real happy about that, but it's hard not to encourage an employee when they want to move on and do something else. So our blessings go with you, I hope. I speak for all of us, but I would move that we do accept your resignation effective June 7th, so we have it on the record.
All right, I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept Cindy Howard's resignation effective June 7, close of business. Discussion, public comment. Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed nay, motion carries. Now, let's talk about business.
Thanks.
You start, because you know more about your business than I do.
Oh, well, I
So we got a big old fat check, 23,000.
Oh, we got a $29,000 check
$29,000.
yesterday.
Yeah.
Actually, 2 days ago, but the power was out, so I couldn't get it deposited.
That was fire mitigation.
That's part of the Ready, Set, Go grant.
Take it away.
Yeah, I didn't know I was gonna talk here. I actually came for the built stuff, but I am going to give you a final report, kind of go into some things with, Salamander and the grants and all the things we're at, all the strings I don't want to tangle or to untie. I have a vested interest in this community. I am willing to help out, depending on how, vacancy things go, and I'm not gonna be gone, so.
You made that comment privately to me, and I just publicly want to tell you how much I appreciate that attitude, that you're going to be around, you'll help, even if you're not employed anymore, if questions come up, you'll work with us. So I just wanna publicly thank you for that attitude, that's so professional of you, and I really appreciate it.
You're welcome, thank you. If there's other opportunities in the future or places I can plug in, I still intend to be involved in search and rescue, and, I don't wanna be voted or kicked off the island, so I appreciate working with that.
And so we'll handle all that stuff in your report next week.
Yeah, I will, and then, following up with everyone, and I've made the same offer to Christy Coleman. We have a big grant deliverable coming up June 18th with a web BOCC class I wanna participate in, with a couple other workshops in the afternoon, and if, things don't move forward on filling the vacancy, I've volunteered to be there and work through that, and, look to everybody's support in the future on whatever I morph into.
Okay.
Not ask for anything more than that, thank you.
You wanna share with us your visitor coming?
Jen Dietz is coming from the International Association of Fire Chiefs, the Ready, Set, Go grant on Monday. She's flying in from Virginia. She'll be touring the Silver Cliff project. We've got half of that grant out as a reimbursement request, and so I'm trying to finish the dotting I's and crossing T's on the grant deliverable. That, is kind of the same thing where we talked about the county's the fiscal agent. I have the authority to sign that grant, and so it's really important to me to close that out. But she'll be here, then she'll go on to Granby and tour the project up there, and, we're still pretty excited about wrapping that up. I got the window fixed. We had we had 14 homes and almost 50 acres we treated, and one broken window, so I spent a couple hours getting the window fixed, and he's the only one with an outstanding check besides the big check on the reimbursement. So
Perfect.
lot of lessons learned, but that's I'm looking forward to meeting Jen. She and I have had a lot of phone calls.
Well, Commissioner Cannon and I are gonna be at a CCI conference, so we're gonna be gone.
Okay.
I would love to ask if I could join in on that tour with you and her, but we're gonna be out of pocket. So at some point, it'd be nice, maybe we can jump in a vehicle and just run out there and drive up through there and look at that again.
And that
pretty
would be
cool.
That would be fun. Like I said, I'll be around, and I'd be happy to do that. I think the homeowners and I think the town of Silver Cliff is pretty pleased with how it went. I still have a huge interest in mitigation, which is why I came to hear about Title III and keep that bug alive. So, yeah.
Good. All right. Well, let's talk about public PILT, payment in lieu of taxes. You said you wanted to talk about that.
Well, you have it as an agenda.
Regina's got it.
So you're not
She's not
in that
doing it.
seat to
She
talk
just
about
wants
it.
to
You're
listen.
here at the meeting to listen to that.
I am here at the meeting to listen to that, to see why it's on the agenda, and to make sure that there's a couple other people that are invited back when you're ready, really ready to move and shake. But
Okay, very good.
All
I
right.
misunderstood. All right. Well,
Okay.
thank you. Thank you for coming. You're welcome to stay, obviously. Yeah.
Thank you.
I thought you wanted to talk about PILT right now. So,
No.
Yeah. Okay,
No.
misunderstood you.
That's
All
all right.
right. So the next item of business is consideration of how we want to move forward with posting of the job vacancy for OEM. I'm going to, as Jay did, and I appreciate that because that is exactly how meetings are supposed to be ran. They open an item of business with a motion, and then discussion follows, and then the process naturally takes care of itself. I would move that we post this OEM position internally within the county employees first. If we do not have any interested applicants, then certainly post it, open it up. I don't want to say in the county because that's not appropriate. We would open it up
To the public.
to the public. Thank you. So that would be my motion.
I'll second it. I think that's
to post it internally. Been moved and seconded to post this vacancy announcement internally. I didn't add a date on that because I want some discussion on that. So what's your thoughts, gentlemen? Discussion?
I support that motion. I would like to make a very short-term notice. I believe there's probably not a county employee who has anything, I'm not talking road and bridge, for example, but they may not know, but I think anybody who potentially would want to apply for this job doesn't already know what the situation is. So I would suggest maybe we open it till maybe the close of business Wednesday of next week, and, see if we receive any applicants or not. If we do, then let's sit down and have an interview. And if not, then I would authorize, the issuance in the local paper or record.
So that's 3 days. If we went into the next day, which is another BOCC meeting, that's 4 days, so it doesn't matter.
Well, that'd be fine, we do 4 days, I don't want to
giving
linger.
people time.
I would like if we have a replacement to move in to get as much, where are we right now, what's going on?
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
time together,
Sure.
is all I'm trying to work
We
out.
won't be home from the CCI conference until late on Wednesday, I would guess.
That's
That's what it
right.
was last year. It
Well,
was
that's
7:30 to 8.
Thursday's fine, I just want to do it short term.
Okay. Good conversation. By consent, gentlemen, I would add that to my motion then. We could go through the amendment process if you're okay with that. To post that today through the close of business on Thursday.
You're coming back when?
Wednesday.
Wednesday night.
Well, we could close it, close of business Wednesday. I'm just looking at
You're gonna
time
be
here,
here,
we got
right?
both
Because you'll be
the
here,
next 2
you'll
days
know
after,
who
okay.
at that time will have applied or not applied.
Right.
That-
Well, yeah, let's do that. That's even
all right.
better. Yeah, close the business on Wednesday. Then we can have a discussion. We'll put that on the agenda item, at least for discussion. Unless, gentlemen, you wanna do something different on the 6th or the 7th, we can add it.
Well, that'd work all right.
I would advise, at least like to put consideration of the applicants.
I think that's fine, and then depending on what happens there, we could do something for the next
Different,
day.
Right, we still have
That'd be-
24
That sounds
hours.
very,
Okay,
that
works
sounds
for
like a
me.
good plan.
And we're trying to train ourselves, if we anticipate it's gonna be an action item will be voted on, then we try to use the word consideration. If it truly is just a discussion item, we can just discuss it. But if we put something on as a discussion item and then we wanna try to vote on it, we'll be out of our, legal posting rules, so, hopefully
Right,
if
gives
you
us
ask
time for the
something
next
to,
day.
yeah, so we could roll it to the next day. Further discussion, gentlemen? I guess my question would be, would you like to take the lead, sir, since you're the point of contact for,
It will be my pleasure to do that, sir.
and would you probably write up something and mail it via the distribution list to all the county employees? And post it in, we have to post it in here by law.
What, if it's acceptable, what I'd like to do is get with Ms. Hobby, Donna Hobby, of course, and help me with the procedure, and, then we'll get it posted hopefully today, or as soon as physically possible.
I'm all for that, but I thought, are you the point of contact for OEM, or are you the point of contact for posting?
I'm human resources.
That's what I meant.
I'm
You're
happy-
you're the right guy to do it, I'm just saying.
I'm happy.
We're putting it in the right context, it's an HR action.
Fortunately, we don't stand on precedent, this is your.
Yeah, I know that.
We don't do that, and
But
that's
the
wonderful,
record.
I really appreciate the three of us working the way we do.
You bet.
So if somebody else would prefer it, that's
I
fine,
know
if
that.
not, I'm delighted to do it.
Just clarifying what, is it an OEM
Well,
action?
it's a personnel action. I
That's right,
believe it
that's
is.
exactly.
It is.
So I will take that lead today.
Good.
And I will ask Ms. Howard, do you believe this process makes sense or no?
I do believe
She
it
doesn't
makes
care, I
sense,
mean,
but-
she's.
No, I do
No,
care.
I'm teasing
I do
you.
care.
What do you mean, I'm out of here.
See, again, we haven't had any discussion about this.
Yeah.
So we started today and we're gonna, that's one of the downsides, but I just, if you have some input, I'd like to hear.
Yeah, I think, posting it internally is wonderful, I think you should, get it emailed out to everyone and close a business day. The one thing I've seen in confusion before is the application to be turned into human resources or to your
Right.
admin, or,
Right.
include in that where and when, so you don't
Yeah, that's a good point.
have someone
And I would
disgruntled.
assume you guys will know
That's
how to
happened
keep it.
before, it
to
goes
respond.
someplace.
Yeah.
It's very important.
Good, thank you. Okay.
We'll take care of that.
Further discussion? Public comment? Yes, sir.
Comment.
Yeah.
I disagree with your process that you're
Okay.
using here. and I was a manager in city government for 10 years. I think you're shortchanging the county by not advertising this nationwide, because since 9/11, we've had a lot of, across the nation, very good people who have been experienced now in Office of Emergency Management, who may be interested in moving to Custer County and lending us their expertise, and by not allowing that application process and finding out what fish are in the pond, you shortchange the county.
Great point, thank you, sir, appreciate
Okay.
that.
And by allowing the internal, you still allow the internal applicants to
That's true.
apply, but when you look at everybody that's out there in the pool, and it does take longer, I realize that, it'll take you maybe, you may have a 3-week or a 4-week application process to allow the word to get out and stuff. But I'm just saying, we've got, with the several issues that we manage here, I mean, search and rescue, with the fire mitigations that we're trying to do, and all of these things, looking holistically may give us a better product, I don't know. I'm not shortchanging any of our current folks, cause I don't know their skill sets, just making that comment.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons I made the motion, I was hoping we could fill it internally so we weren't dragging it out 3 or 4 weeks, but if you look at hiring practices all over the United States, 3 or 4 weeks is not an unreasonable amount of time either, so your point is well taken. Response, gentlemen?
He's got a good point. Timing and
I think it's point very well taken. You know, my thought was, we have someone with, I don't know if this person would apply or not, but we have someone with a great deal of experience who has worked in this office of emergency management. I would hope that this person would apply, and I feel very comfortable that that person, if they do apply, may be an excellent candidate. However, the point is very well taken. There may be much higher qualified people available, so I'm ambivalent. I mean, your point is very well taken.
Thank you.
Your point is
Your
very well taken.
decision.
Probably well enough taken, I withdraw my motion.
Okay,
Second withdrawn?
I'll second it.
The motion is withdrawn, and thank you, sir, for that. Well thought
Thank you
out
for your
response.
consideration.
Before we move on, I want to throw out one other thing for you and Mrs. Hobby to consider, because we haven't talked about that, and that would be pay.
Right.
So, and maybe before you actually post that, you could shoot us all,
Here's my
us an
question.
email.
Here's my question to you. You withdrew your motion.
Yes.
Am I going
No.
to post this?
Well, no, the
We
motion
gotta
is
figure
withdrawn.
out posting what now.
Yeah, that's right, but I was just throwing that so we don't forget,
Oh, okay.
because we haven't talked about the money issue either, salary.
Right. And-
So, wherever we move forward, I just don't wanna
Well,
forget
there is
that.
is there not a pay scale? And I think if we advertise it, we just say, pay scale between this and this.
I wish there was, I don't think there is.
Do we not have a pay scale?
I looked
I
at,
don't know, I'm looking toward
Yeah,
you, but I don't know.
when I applied for the job in 2016, there was not a pay scale advertised on the job description. You have a budget and you have an impending EMPG grant.
Right.
If you work through Christy Coleman at the state, which is a state-funded grant that supplements the budget, she is willing to serve on an interview committee. She's also willing to shoot it out there to the Colorado Emergency Management Association, because they post job postings all the time. But I will say that typically Custer County is not competitive in their pay.
I think there's a Fair Labor Standards Act regulation for exempt employees. They have to be paid a certain minimum amount, and so that's basically the pay scale.
Yeah, that's, the minimum is the federal minimum.
so I think we need to address that. This is probably as good a time as any, going through this process for us to come back and say, okay, this is what we believe our min and max is for that salary scale for that position. That's something. So I'm just thinking.
So how are we gonna do that? We're gonna have a little meeting somewhere else, or we're gonna do it in a BOCC
Well,
meeting next time?
we could defer this to
Budget.
another BOCC meeting.
Here's what, a suggestion. let me meet with Donna Hobby. Let me talk to her about getting an ad ready. And then if you could help us on the postings that would go national, where we post this so that, as the gentleman mentioned, that it could get out to just not Custer County. And let me talk to Ms. Hobby about what the federal guidelines are for pay. And I think it's appropriate to put a scale in there just so people go, I'm making $150,000 now, I'm not gonna come back here for $30,000. And I'm making up numbers now, of course. But, I mean, I think it's appropriate to put a price, you know, what, a range.
A range.
Yeah, so.
And to clarify, I can help send it out to the SEMA, which is
And
the
that's
state,
what, exactly, that's what I was
not the
hoping.
national, but
Okay,
the
and if
SEMA.
they're, you know,
And that'll
maybe-
be for free, so we can get it out there.
That'd be great. I'll get with Donna Hobby, if it's okay with you gentlemen, and talk
Mhm.
about a range.
Figure out when we're gonna talk
We roll
about
this
it.
to the 6th or
And
7th.
then make a final decision on the 6th or 7th, it would be my decision. I'll
Let's
come
get it on
back
the
to you.
agenda whenever it's appropriate then.
Okay, I'll come back
Ms.
with
Meredith?
information.
Yes, sir.
Could you add consideration of posting a vacancy announcement for OEM on the 6th?
And I may, I would like to come to you with a, here's what the ad, I'm recommending that we.
Here's the budget.
Okay, and then you can decide whether you want to amend it or change it or accept it.
Perfect.
Okay, I will do that for, what day?
6?
Can you tell me your name again, sir?
Vince,
Vince. Thank you. Appreciate
Uh,
it.
Thank you for consideration.
I didn't mean to call you gentlemen.
No, that's fine.
I didn't know your name,
Chris,
sir.
you're fine.
All right.
Sure if it's a you.
That's a good one.
Next item of business. Consideration of approval of the Emergency Preparedness and Response Grant, EPR, for public health. Good morning, ma'am.
Morning.
How you is?
Super.
You done painting? Yeah, that's funny, isn't
You
it?
don't have any on your nose
Well,
anymore.
yeah.
not today.
Yeah.
You can have June 31st off.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I was thinking maybe we should just make it due on June 31st.
Well, I'm such a dork. I never learned all my days in the month, so.
So this is just business as usual with the EPR grant. I just want to bring one thing to your attention. I did get an extra $8,000 this year.
Hold on, you're talking faster than I can run my computer to get the EPR grant up, if you don't mind. Hold on just a second. I'm only about 4 items behind. Ah. Oh, let me look here, sir. I've got it. I can shoot that to both of you if you need.
Shoot.
I remember
Because
reading
it's
it.
only
I read it, but I don't know. It was
23 pages. Let me shoot that to you real quick, Leslie, if you don't
Okay,
mind.
yeah, of course.
Thank you.
I'm pretty sure I sent it to everybody.
I know I asked you if you
May
did, and
have.
you had said yes, and I never pursued it from there, but let me just do this.
I didn't get a hard copy, so.
I have a hard copy here, but don't write on it because I need you to sign it.
You play with
Do
it.
you want me to scribble?
Yes, please.
And
You can send it to me.
if you scribble before a vote,
You're
I'll
gonna get
poke you in the
hung.
eye with a pen. Alright, let me
I'm
get
gonna
this.
wait till I get the
Yeah.
email and I'll look it up there.
Alright, it's on its way.
Font's too small.
On its way.
Sorry.
It's me, it's not you. It's
That's how
me.
that's how it comes from the state. It's not. I didn't do that to you on
Okay,
purpose.
I interrupted you, so
No, you're fine.
go ahead.
Okay, so on page 21, I think
Okay,
there is the financial part of the
we have to
contract.
sign both of these?
Mhm.
Okay,
And send them both back. Yeah.
so don't write on that, Ken, if you would please. Page 21.
Get it open here. Hang on 1 second, please. Thank you for sending it.
Option letter.
21.
Sorry.
I don't know.
Do you change your address on this or not?
No, because this is. Well, no, I'm not going to because we'll have to do like a formal form with the state, and I don't want to have any ambiguity for the state because it just.
So you mentioned page 21.
Okay,
Go ahead.
so is that the
the budget.
That's the
The budget
budget.
page?
The budget, yes.
Perfect, yeah. Okay, so there's a new line item, or it's actually not a new line item, but it's an increased amount where it says like 8,000. It's the second one
Yeah,
down.
88,117.
Yeah.
EPR staff.
So that is more, this is why our budget for public health is such a hassle when we do budget with the county, because all of our stuff goes from the fiscal year, starts July 1.
Right.
So anyways, this is more money than what we have in our county budget, so that I can hire somebody to help me do EPR.
And if you just had to really condense EPR down, I mean, I know what the letters stand for, but.
So yeah, it's emergency preparedness in its truest form. So we do, there was 25 deliverables last year, which I just finally turned in yesterday. So that's the thing. There's 25 deliverables, which
So you-
includes like mostly planning.
Okay,
You know,
I get
continuity
you.
of operations plan, emergency operations plan. What are we gonna do when the street floods? What are we gonna do when somebody has a hiccup sideways? Like seriously, we plan for everything. Cause Cindy knows. So I need somebody to help me do that, because I can't do all my other stuff and do that well. Carmeline used to do it, and we were fine, but that's when she was working at least 1 day a week, not 2 days a month. So I found myself treading water with it this year.
Okay. I'm gonna ask you a sidebar question, don't answer it now, but think about them. So victims assistant, that doesn't go through public health, part of the Vail grant, okay. Gentlemen, what's your pleasure?
So what are you asking now?
Primarily,
Yes.
now I'm asking you to sign the contract for the state so that we can continue
Okay.
getting our EPR.
I move we sign the contract.
Been moved and seconded to sign the EPR contract with the state. Discussion? Yes, go ahead, sir.
I'm sorry, sir.
That's all right.
Jumped the gun.
Nope.
The person that you'd like to have help you do this,
Mhm.
are you gonna be able to find someone on short term? I mean, how often are you gonna use them?
So I'll answer your question in two parts there. Okay, so first of all, I do have somebody in mind that's kind of already been helping me out with
Oh,
this, just
wonderful.
to keep my
Okay, I
head
didn't know
above
that.
water.
Uh-huh.
Second of all, I'd like to also put some funds, which we've talked about before in previous BOCC meetings, to train somebody to do Rhonda Martin's job, my administrative assistant. Not because I'm getting rid of her, but because she takes time off, she gets vacation, she whatever.
Right.
And so I
Have
need,
an office of you running.
I need somebody that can do her job when she's not there. And so I'd like to have this person do that
I know
also.
a feeling.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't have any problem with that. Something makes sense.
Any further discussion? Public comment? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of approving the EPR grant application, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Good job.
Who signed it?
Page 22, I think, or whatever page it was.
Would you do the honors, sir?
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that.
On the 6th, I'll bring more information about that position. I think.
Okay,
I see
page
you on
5.
6th,
Five, I
um,
guess.
For my regular report.
Yes.
Good with that?
Yep. So, we move forward. You got done? Painting?
It should be today. With like the biggest stuff, like touch-up stuff will be.
Yeah. Did you start in the exam room?
Right?
Is it open
I
now?
was wondering how that was gonna look.
Is it, what do you mean?
Wait,
is it
can,
open?
can I swing by on my way home?
You sure can, cause I'll be there painting.
Oh, good.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
You could probably bring a paintbrush too.
Change your shirt, I'll put you to work.
And today was your changeover for address?
Yes.
So I will go over there this afternoon and install a post office box for you.
I put our name on it, didn't you?
No, I did not.
All
Did
level.
you see I got it out of the box and,
Yes, the soaking wet box.
was it?
Uh,
Oh, it was dry.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was in the back of my pickup in that rain.
Oh, God. You didn't happen to see if Chris got us some more Sacrete, did you?
One bag, so there's like a bag and 3/4.
Okay, cause I brought over an open bag, he brought another one.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's a full bag in that open bag.
That'd be enough. And I see he did dig a hole.
Bless his heart.
I don't know how deep it is, and I hope you put it in my postal digger's back,
The
but,
postal diggers are back inside, yeah. And I don't know
yeah,
how deep it is.
it's not deep enough, we'll dig a little deeper. So I will have to remember to bring a saw, cause I'll have to cut that post down to the height we want. I don't think it's gonna need a brace coming out in the front.
I don't
That's
think so.
pretty
That's a
big.
giant
Yeah, that's a honking.
Post.
Now, what does post office box similar to yours cost on the open market? I'm curious.
I think I paid $35 for
Really?
it on
This
Amazon.
is a locking mailbox that has a pull down to deposit the mail in it, and then you unlock it to get your mail out, because HIPAA laws and
Yeah,
other kind
and
of stuff.
checks
So,
that we get.
pretty
yeah.
cool.
So, yeah, it was cheap on Amazon.
Wow. I
And,
figured it'd be, when you look at it, I thought $100 or
Yeah.
$50,
Yeah.
man, it is a haul.
Not bad.
All right, ma'am,
Okay,
thank you.
Thank you.
Come back here.
In the event I don't get that post office box in, I want you to feel free to.
She really wanted out of here.
I got
See
some
you.
painting to do. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is it time for the tree people yet?
That's us.
The tree dwellers.
Consideration of the tree removal. You're welcome to come forward, or you can sit right there. It's up to you.
Oh, we're fine
All
right
right.
here.
Okay.
You know, we're a little
All
reserved.
right. I will start by deferring to the council. He can give us a little update on where we were. Let me just throw this out real quick, that these folks came to our BOCC meeting in Wetmore, made a request for us to consider removing a tree on County Road 389 that's actually growing kind of out
Next to a bridge.
to a bridge, and that root ball has a tendency during a flood event to snag a lot of debris and material. So they've requested that we look into removing that tree. Does that pretty well encapsulate?
Exactly.
Thank you. Counselor?
I talked to JD about this, our appraiser, and we looked at the maps, and it's very clear that property is county property, which is unusual, but the road and the
Really?
bridge is all county property, so it is the county's responsibility to take care of it.
Okay. Would you folks like to say anything else? I mean, you came up here and sat through this whole
Oh,
meeting.
no, this is fine.
just hope it
Okay,
gets taken
all right.
care of.
Yeah. Save me some work when it starts getting filled up again.
And I'll give you my perspective. I've been thinking about this. I don't know that I would be real comfortable in passing a motion today. You gentlemen sure may, but I'm just giving you my feeling. To instruct Gary Hyde to go and do something without him having an opportunity to even look at it. I would like to have him go down and meet with his Wetmore people and say, what do you think? How big a project? Are we gonna need to rent a track hoe? Can we take it down in pieces and stages and then rip it out of there with a front end loader or a backhoe?
Let's, I will move to do that, Tom. I think we ought to get him to take a look at it, come back to us with how he's gonna do it. Then we can talk about it. That would be a logical way.
Give us a cost
And then
estimate.
give us a cost, yeah, because here's my view. I think it's not gonna take a tracker, but we've got a lot of experience on the backhoe, but it may be such that the water's rising enough that it's gonna be too hard to reach, so. we'll have
You
to
go
see.
look at it.
Yeah, okay.
With all due respect to both of you.
I'm just.
Let me-
this is a.
I guess
That's
we're
right. If you're gonna start your sentence like that, obviously you don't like what we said. No, I'm teasing.
No, I fully respect what you said, and I think you're right, but I think the bottom line is, we the county have an issue with a tree that is causing an issue. We need to take responsibility to remove the tree. So my feeling would be, I would prefer to pass a motion that we will remove the tree as least expensively and as most expeditiously as the county could do it, whether it's Gary Hyde and our road and bridge, or we're forced to hire a company to do it. But I think it's our responsibility, I think these folks came here twice. In my mind, it needs to be done, and I would authorize, let's do it. We just haven't figured out the methodology at this point until we get more information.
I guess,
So that's just my
that
feeling.
two-step thing is really what, I'd already taken that first step in my mind, that's okay, so, we have to get more information, there's no doubt about it.
There's no doubt
And we
about
have to remove it,
Well,
probably.
see, I'm just saying, we will remove it, we just don't have the plan.
I'm not
on
saying
how to
you
do
it's a
it quite
decision
yet.
we wouldn't.
But I'm fine waiting for that too, I just wanna, that's just my thought, we need to take responsibility, we need to take care of this tree. And whether we can do it ourselves or we have to hire a tree removal company,
Doesn't matter,
we have to do it.
And I would be much more inclined to vote in favor of a motion to that degree once we had some more information. If it's $75,000 to get that tree out of there, I'm gonna struggle with that. It won't be
$75,000, I'll do it. I'm helping. I'll get Olean down there to supervise. I'll really put a camera up my barn to watch it.
That's right.
Well,
So
there's
I'm
lots
just
of
saying,
ways
I
of
think to
removing
make a
that tree.
wise, informed decision, we need to let Gary do his job. And maybe he looks at it and says, yeah, I gotta bid this out. And that's fine, I don't have a problem with that, but I'd like to have that information before I vote to do it. That's all I'm saying.
Are we gonna have a
I
start
made my
and
comment
termination
about
date on
before.
this process? Like we start today and terminate it in 2 years?
By
Yeah,
year
that's right.
twenty
I don't want a typical
25.
government process.
No, we don't wanna get in a hurry, because
That's why.
you would
I
be
know,
very
government doesn't wanna
disappointed
get in a hurry.
if we did it next week,
Yeah.
so.
Monsoons are
Oh,
coming.
I'm perfectly fine with that.
I'm gonna
I
wait
just
till
wanted to
hard
say
it's
how
gonna
I
be,
felt.
so we need to get it done.
Commissioner Canada, would you like to take the lead on this and contact
Sure.
Gary Hyde?
Absolutely.
And then we can move forward unless you wanna introduce a motion.
There is a
Contrary to
motion
that.
on
The motion is.
Well, he
I'm-
said he was gonna move,
Yeah.
and never got a
I
second,
didn't,
but,
actually never got a second.
and I don't even know what your motion was, I
That's
just
good.
knew you said you were gonna
Yeah.
move.
So that's okay.
If you want to, I'm not
No,
crossing that.
I will go
So,
get
right.
Gary, he'll come back and then we'll go down the path.
You know, the other option the county could consider is we could just give that property to them, and then it's their responsibility.
You guys wanna get a toll
I
bridge
don't have a
going?
problem with that,
You
'cause
can
then
get a toll bridge.
I have a
Charge
toll road
a
right
toll
there.
every
Yeah,
time.
toll
No, we still keep a right
They
of
can
way.
go
We still
around and
keep
they
the
can
county
pay me
right
$1
of
a
way.
day.
Okay, we don't have to pave it.
Counselor wants to keep the right of way and just give you the tree. Then
I
you can have
keep
some
the
firewood.
That
You
doesn't
know we
deserve
do.
any further comment.
That's right, so we want you to have the tree.
Okay,
This is going back.
so this time it'll be, I'll be back next week, on the sixth.
Yeah, could you maybe
We'll
talk to
get-
him today
sure,
and see if he
we'll
can
get
get
it.
down there by then?
Sure.
And then let's put this back on the
it on
agenda
there
for
anyway.
June 7. Ms. Meredith? Thank you. Consideration of removal of tree, and ask Mr. Hyde to meet with us. Would you do that, sir? Come in and meet with us. And we hopefully will make a decision next week.
All right.
Is that, because we're gonna be gone.
I know.
It doesn't matter, doesn't have to be Gary, it's road and bridge.
Well, I think.
No, Gary, no, he has to know, I'm just saying,
Yeah, but
we gotta
doesn't
coordinate
he
with
have
Gary.
a staff meeting on that day anyway?
Pardon me?
Yeah,
Doesn't
he
have a
may,
staff meeting that day anyway?
Who does?
yeah, she was talking about.
Doesn't Gary have staff report on that day
On the
anyway?
7th?
Oh, sorry.
He may.
I wasn't following when you said staff meeting, they
Irrespective,
meet on
Gary will be
Mondays,
here
staff
at the
report.
meeting, so.
Yeah, yeah, we can get him here, we can do it during staff report, good point. But, yeah, I just think then we can hopefully get some concrete information and move
So we'll
forward.
just make a motion.
I happen to agree, I think it's our responsibility.
Can you wait another 5 days, like 3 people?
Well, thank you for coming back
Yes.
up here, we appreciate
Yes.
that, I know we've taken a big chunk out of your day, but,
That's all right.
I'm confident that we'll move forward,
So moving right along,
so,
We had other business to take care of.
all right.
Thank you for your time.
Oh, you're welcome. So discussion of the Title III payment in lieu of taxes, we got a notice, let me pull that up. Gentlemen, did you have an opportunity to look at that document?
Yes.
Are you familiar with the dollar amount?
it was 12,000.
So our new, $146,273.
There it
Of that portion,
21,000.
the county is entitled $21,941. We've already had a request for some of that money, so we're gonna have to take that under advisement at some point. Certainly not today because it's not on the agenda.
So what do we
I-
need to do?
I defer to Miss Cindy for some comment.
So, after the Junkins fire and getting ready to work on the Sangres Foothills, CWPP, we published the 45-day notice for $23,000 on the plan and another $15,000 on mitigation. I had tried to work with Corona Verde on getting some stuff started. I've mentioned in my last 3 staff reports. I am totally invested in trying to help the Corona Verde folks because they are movers and shakers as an HOA. They've got their CWPP done and updated. They've identified a number of threats out there. I don't know if you would need, if you've got some immediate funding you need to spend, then, council would have to look at it, but we did already post, mitigation projects on the ground unless there's some reason that expired,
What was
after
that total?
posting. The total was, it was $23,500 and $15,000 on mitigation. Of the $23,500, there's $4,500 left, I believe. I forgot to bring that one over, I had it printed out. But there's, roughly $19,000, there was like $4,500 for planning and $15,000 for mitigation projects on the ground. If you're needing to spend some of that, $15,000, if it doesn't need posted again and you've already met the 45-day period, then I would look at some eligible projects, with the 60 or some homeowners that Matt Clark has already done home assessments on in the plan, on the home ignition zone, and try to get some boots on the ground. My recommendation is that we don't fund HILT where OEM or any other county employee is really the monkey in the middle, that it's more of a reimbursement project because it's just too time intensive, and then also like on Ready, Set, Go, we put ourselves in the middle of the liability and the permission to enter. I'd rather see us drafted up as, we'll spend up to $1,000 if you haven't done any existing, go out and do a contract and say, well, you hire your own contractor, you have your own insurance. When you're done, we'll reimburse maybe up to 60% of that. Something along those lines. I don't have I'm willing to, give you a written statement, but I think we could do something to where, similar to what, Custer County Soil Conservation District does, where, you write an agreement between the homeowner to reimburse, but they have skin in the game, they go make it happen, and they come back to you within a certain time and say, we've done it, take a look, because the Ready, Set, Go grant was just really, a time hog, and I think that's where on all these grants from the county as the fiscal agent, you run into a conflict. And this isn't a grant, I realize it's just money that needs spent.
Comments, gentlemen?
We certainly do represent Corona Verde and have completed that recent.
Yeah, congratulations too. That's
we appreciate a lot of work.
That's a big deal, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. And really, it's a reminder that we and our neighbors out there represent a large assessment of properties that actually compete with the towns of Westcliff and Silvercliff together. So we have a huge potential for loss of life and property out there. And so we've started. I mean, we're not waiting, but we've started. But of course, any deterrent to any good project is funding. And so our development of our plan is a phase 1, phase 2, and we're ready this year for phase 1 with up to $17,000 ready to go.
Yeah, what are you looking for?
Yeah.
17 grand, huh?
Yeah. Well, we got 12 to 17, depending. So, and then of course our phase 2 runs up. We're looking at some possible water cisterns for the assist with the fire department. They're fire only, and of course those are $45,000 a piece. And yeah, they're very expensive. But again, it helps the whole community, not just Corona Verde. So I mean, we've got all these outside neighbors, including the airport out there. So these are things that could be broader, in its scope.
Okay.
So,
and I've got a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because you've thrown out 5 or 6 different figures here, so I don't know what the figure is for mitigation. As I've heard 23, 15, I'm trying to write all these down back here. what is the dollar figure you have this year for mitigation? Just mitigation.
Go ahead.
Did I understand that the auditor said 12,000 something has to be spent now or we lose it? That's not the whole pot.
Actually, it's till
2020, you can have.
Till 2020.
2020 is the new,
For all of it, and the total amount available?
well, you had like
70
48,000 left over,
Right.
48,661.56, and this year you got well, not particularly, you don't have to use it for mitigation.
Right.
This is to use for a lot of different things, so it's not particularly for mitigation.
Because, and I'm reading out of the U.S. Department of Agriculture's, their guidelines
Yeah, they have.
for mitigation, for PILT,
Right.
for community wildfire protection plans. And it specifically addresses in here, creating fire breaks outside the home ignition zone. So what you're talking about doing this on homeowner property, I do not believe, according to the USDA's guidelines, we can do. The fire chief has identified that many of our roads out there, and this is in our plan for our mitigation, need no entry zones or dead end signs installed upon them and this is mainly for first responder safety, so that they know which one of these roads.
Right.
You've identified White Cable and several of our other roads that go through heavy forested areas that we need the trees cut back out of the right-of-way zones to create somewhat, and I don't want to speak for Chief Shy, I'd rather he be here, but to his purpose, as I understood it, was to start maybe creating some wider fire breaks inside the homeowners association, things like that. So what I'd like to do is step back a little bit on this and have some discussions with you guys and maybe get the chief in here and talk about, if we've only got 12,000 or whatever it is, maybe if those are some of the areas that he wants to focus on, and Matt alluded to the water tanks, which are big dollar items, we've actually stepped forward and offered homeowner association common areas to install these on, to sign a 99-year access lease for the fire department if they wanted to install these on eventually, to disperse these water resupply points. So maybe if we'd step back and work with you guys over the next, since it sounds like we've got some time on some of this money, get some good suggestions from the chief and find out what he thinks we ought to do, and work with you guys to see if we could develop a plan on this, and where, start now and maybe over the next 5-10 years, we develop a plan on how to attack some of these items. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. Miss Virginia?
You asked me to come and kind of give a heads up on
I did,
however
yes,
it works.
ma'am. Top of the morning to you. Money country.
Final say.
It's not intended to end the discussion we were in. I just asked her if she could come in and talk to us a little bit as well. So.
Okay, there's 3 PILTs out there, I'll just start with that. We have the DOI PILT, which is the National Forest PILT. We have the payment in lieu of tax PILT, and we have the DOW PILT. Now, the DOW PILT, we don't get any of that, because we don't have any DOW lands in Custer County. National Forest PILT is what we get, and it goes, some goes to Title III, some goes to the road and bridge, and some goes to the school. That's the one you've been discussing. And then we have the payment of lieu and tax, where all the money, when we get it, it goes to a fund that pays all the bills when we don't have money coming in. Okay, the National Forest PILT, I brought a couple examples. This is what we got in the past year, and that's how it was. The state will tell us how we have to distribute it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, 2 years ago.
Sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't.
Yeah, sometimes it's fully funded and sometimes it's not. 2 years ago, they told us we either had to give it all to the road and bridge or all to the school. Now, this PILT, National Forest PILT, is tied in with the payment in lieu of tax PILT. So if we gave all of the money to road and bridge, then we would get dinged that money. If we pay it all to the school, then we get all of our money that we should have in the payment of lieu of tax. So that's why it's always, the school gets more than the road and bridge.
That's just the way you
We're
want to get
keeping
it.
more money in the county.
Keep the more money in the county. Now, Tom had asked me about how they figure it, and this is one thing I had in my file, and I don't know, you could try to figure it out what they were, how they figured it out, but I'm not. It's all very complicated how they come up with it, and it's not just our money that they're figuring it out on, it's the big picture. So this year, we got.
Oh, the tree people got bored.
This
Thank you
year,
again, guys. You're welcome.
out of the money that we got, Title III got $21,941.08, and then $124,332.77 was split up between the two schools and Road and Bridge. And you guys have all those figures, so that's the way we figure it. This is the money that we had a report, that's the money that's left over from previous years.
Yeah, so that figure comes up to $70,602.62.
With the new money
Yes,
that came
ma'am.
in.
Yeah. So this carryover can be commingled with this Title III money, correct? It's $48,000.
Now, then I printed out the new one, and it says you have to 2020 to spend it now.
Right, saw that.
They changed that. This is some public notices. When you decide when you decide how you wanna spend your money, you have to do public notices.
Right, time out. He's about to jump out of his chair,
Oh.
cause he wants to ask a question.
Question, is it restricted on how we spend this pill?
It is.
That's what I'm trying.
Yeah, and it's in that, I don't know if I brought it with me, cause I know,
It's in your packet.
Well, I'm reading the packet, but I didn't see where it says it's restricted.
Emergency services.
let me see you have it on there? You have it in paper?
There's Firewise Communities Program, or
Yep, that's it. That's how it's restricted.
federal land,
They tell you how you have to spend it. You
community
have to
wildfire
spend it on
protection
certain
plan
things.
in accordance with.
No, I think you're looking at the right document.
So
No,
that's
I'm
really
sorry.
not important.
That is not the right document. That was a request from search and rescue, so hold on, I opened the wrong one. There. Or maybe I showed you that one. and we-
Yeah, that's the one I gave you, yep,
We've got that one.
yep. That's
So
how
you're
it's
on the right one,
restricted.
so.
That's what this guy is.
Yeah,
And when it
So-
first started out, it wasn't so restricted, but now they changed it.
We were
and the
buying
date
popsicles or
for
something.
Title III funds must be obligated to September 2021. Initiated in 2020, so.
So we got 48 Ks.
That's from previous,
was
and then you
carried
have
Was
the
carried
current,
over
yeah.
from before.
So $70,602.
I see. I haven't voted.
But it's up to you guys how you wanna spend it.
And I'm gonna tell you, straight up,
No bonuses?
I don't, today, I certainly don't, I'm not well educated enough to be able to even begin that conversation and say, oh, we're gonna do this and this and this and this and this. I'm gonna have to have a little more information, cause I don't live in the pill world.
And
Well, that's a good point, though. You got 70,000 to deal with, and we got a couple hands out. We gotta figure out where the priorities are.
And here's another, this is how you did it in the paper, and this is some paperwork that, how it was spent in the past. Just
Okay.
kind of give you an idea.
I like your suggestion as
So-
fire chief and other people being involved.
Well, I think that's the real reason Corny Birdie's here today and Search and Rescue, what they're requesting today is they don't wanna be excluded from the
That's
conversation.
right. That's right.
You know, when I took the job,
That's what
OEM was sort of, supposed to be getting things going. When we did the CWPP, the one community comment we had was that it should go to fire mitigation. And, and the guidance is clearly, it gives you some other options for needed trainings, especially where federal lands are concerned.
From your point of view, what's driving the timeline? Is there a big hurry because of X, Y, and Z? What is it?
We don't have
Well, we're gonna initiate it by
Right.
September
Right.
2020.
We know when we have to spend it or try it, but is there,
we don't have,
besides what project?
we wanna work with you guys and try to figure out how we can do this. I mean, tote money, I understand, dribbles in yearly, maybe every other year,
Sometimes
whatever.
we get a windfall.
Sometimes
But-
it's not funded.
Yeah, and work a plan out with you guys, identify projects, let's get a 5-year, a 10-year plan put together, and we'll work with you guys and figure out what we can address.
Need for your plug.
One of the things you asked specifically, if you've driven out Airport Road and you've seen our property in front of Verde, where the clubhouse is, you know where it is, you'll notice the large, enormous splash piles that are starting again there.
Yeah.
One of the nice things would be, we've had to pay yearly to have that burned by the Wet Mountain Fire Department, and it's been over $1,000.
Yeah.
That would be kinda nice if we could cover that one next year, because now that everybody knows about it, people are really mitigating it. We're doing our part out there, we're really mitigating.
And that's a community
And that's-
collection point.
It's
Yes, sir.
a seed. We started that about 4 years ago, when the dump and some of like Greenleaf and stuff,
Sanitary landfill.
yeah, they got filled up and they couldn't accept anyone, a sanitary landfill, yes. Use the proper term. So we started doing that as a community, and we've been hosting, as part of their dues, it costs each owner about $1 a year to get the fire department to burn that. And we've hired them, they come out, burn it, manage it, monitor it. So in that manner, we've been advocating and educating homeowners on, and have accomplished quite a bit of mitigation over the last 3 years around the homes and stuff, so.
Yeah, well, I know that Cindy has certainly carried your banner forward in here.
I wanna
many
praise this
times.
lady, she's been wonderful.
And, I would guess leadership is gonna probably look favorably on shakers and movers and try to help them instead of discourage them, so I think we'll look forward to working with you. We probably need to come out and look and see
We would
what's
love to
going
have
on
you
out
guys.
there, and
Yeah.
it's hard to grasp all this when you're sitting in this room, and
Yep.
so.
Other drivers of this, of course, is the fire season.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna get dry eventually.
On the newer funds coming in, there's a real opportunity to leverage those with state Forest Service grants. I know there's some different commitments over the years, and so the older money, if there's a deadline, 2021, great. But say this last deposit of 21,000 or whatever you're looking at, you could probably double that by looking at a fur-worm grant. You could look at implementing some different things. I think a workshop's appropriate. I think search and rescue's request is completely a legitimate request that needs to be given consideration. They need to be at the table. And Wet Mountain Fire is looking to complete the certified burners course. I would be very hesitant to give anyone who is not a certified burner any money to burn. In terms of consideration, I think there's a huge liability there because they are not following state statute in terms of certified burning, and they're working to remediate that, but they're gonna have to open task books to get signed off, and so I would just, be careful in that regard of whether you chip or burn or how you address that.
Are you done comment?
I was gonna ask you if you were done with us. If there's something else you think we need to know.
You can come in the
don't
office
shoot.
anytime, I have a file about that, if you
Yeah.
have any questions.
You remember my cousin Vinny? Hey, I'm done with this one.
Well, thank you for coming in, I appreciate it.
Mr.
Okay.
Dooley, thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. So, I thank you guys for being here, your interest and your work, and I think we will
For sitting through such a long.
have this continuing dialogue and get the players at the table. Maybe we schedule a workshop. Yep. Yep. And sit down and have a little
We'll participate with you guys on that.
Okay, good.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming in, appreciate it. I know you guys stay here a long time.
I'm gonna sneak out.
Okay.
Search and rescue as a board meeting next Wednesday.
Vince,
Third?
Don Munden?
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Thank
you. Yeah.
I didn't have it
I
down.
gotta go also.
Sure.
You wanna get this thing left?
I don't.
Appreciate it, sir. All right, we'll move on, resolution 1905, budget resolutions. I would move that we rescind the action of approving budget, resolution 1904, because it was misnumbered. My intent here is to get rid of that one and then reintroduce a motion for 1905.
Alright, I'll move where you rescind.
I made that motion to rescind.
Oh, you did make it.
Second.
I'll second it. I'm sorry.
Been moved and seconded to rescind the action of approving resolution 1904. Discussion?
Can we add a date to that or something so that it doesn't, because you approved 1904, then you approved another 1904.
Yes, of course, now, don't you know, I can't see my hand on it.
Wouldn't it be May 22nd?
Here's this one, is
Pardon?
it different?
I
than
believe
what
it
you
was the
got?
May 22nd meeting.
Yeah, it was.
Was it?
What are
Okay.
you looking for?
Or on
That's what
six?
I'm looking for, yeah. I got it on my computer as well, but. Does that answer your question, ma'am?
Yeah, I just wondered if you needed to make that as part of your motion so that you're not, so somebody reading
That
that
was
wouldn't
approved.
think that
Right.
you were getting
Getting it
rid of
twice.
the true 1904 also.
Yeah, so I would, restate my motion then to, rescind the action of approving the resolution 19-04, which was adopted at the May 22nd meeting. And you seconded, is that right? The move and seconded to rescind the action of approving 19-04 on 5/22. Discussion?
We're doing this simply to change the number, is
Yes,
that
that's
correct?
correct.
Okay.
Everything
Wanna make
else,
sure
the dollar amount.
Make sure it was, everything else is the
Yeah.
same.
For the group's information, this resolution was to appropriate money to defray the expenses that we had received from MBOGO Aviation, which is really a portion of the OT6 grant that's helping us with the airport. We attached the wrong number to it, so we're just correcting that number. It was for $3,600, we had to transfer that, so the actions are gonna end up a wash, but, we need to get the numbers right. Further discussion, public comment? Yes, ma'am,
I just wanted to do an FYI, I hadn't planned on it.
pertaining to this?
No.
Okay, sorry, that's all right.
We'll get
That's
to
okay.
that.
All right,
Okay.
any other public comment about this resolution rescinding? That's okay. Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of rescinding 19-04 adopted on 5/22, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carries. And what's the group's pleasure on the actual resolution?
So where is the actual
19-05?
resolution? Is it dated?
Right there.
Oh, it's the same line.
Okay.
So do we
This
need a
will
date
get
on here for
signed.
this date?
Well,
Yeah,
Signed,
the only
right.
thing
So
that
you're-
changed is the
the number went
resolution
from
number,
4 to
and we'll
5.
sign it today,
Okay, good.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I move that we adopt resolution, what is it?
19-5.
That is the correct number.
05.
I approve that I move that we approve, resolution 19-05.
I'll second it.
We move seconded to approve resolution 19-05 dated 31 of May.
Whenever it is.
Yeah, 31st day of May. Discussion. Public comment. Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed nay. Motion carries.
Sign it, Tom.
We're all three gonna sign it.
I know.
Any further items, gentlemen, to come before the board?
Just want to remind you that we have a staff meeting at 1 o'clock.
Yes, I will not be in attendance.
I understand.
Thank you.
Neither will I, that's his job.
I understand that too. It's really for the audience.
Just hurry up and get done with your public
And
comment.
you will attest to that, ma'am, is that correct?
Alright, it's gonna be Angie's turn pretty soon. Angie, get ready.
No, we're not gonna do public comment.
No, we're not gonna be public
That's
comment.
okay, I can
No,
email, I'm just.
so public comment is the last item on the agenda. Yes, ma'am,
This
go
is
ahead.
more just an FYI,
Okay.
this has to do with Charlie with the tourism board. You had made a comment regarding Vista Works. I just thought I'd give you a little bit of history because the new tourism board doesn't know the history and their new commissioners don't realize the history. The Vista Works was actually hired by the tourism board in 2017. And part of their contract is to go for grants working with the CTO. So just wanna let you know that they're doing part of what
they've been contracted to do so. And in the past, the tourism board through the county, but through the tourism board, has done various grants with the CTO. And at that time, it was again with various other counties. One of them was with Los Animas, one Morfino, the other Custer. We've probably done 3 or 4 years of that. And then another one was with 4 other counties, Pueblo, Fremont, Los Animas, Morfino, and Custer County. So just to let you know, there is a history there that, of working with the CTO in that it's definitely a good thing. But I know Charlie didn't kind of have an answer there for a little bit, but 2017, Vista Works isn't new to this board. It's 2017 they were hired. This is just part of the process. And CTO, when it comes to grants, you're more apt to get the grant if you're working with other entities, and that's a key thing. So it's making a different kind of region. So
you have a precedence, is what you're saying, working with
yes.
other counties.
Yes.
Okay,
Thanks.
Other public comment?
I have 3 things and I will not belabor them because you have another meeting
Just
at
take
1.
your time, you said you're a long time.
I think that you guys ought to consider removing Bill Donnelly from a BRAR board. I believe he has a conflict of interest because he's on the board for San Isabel. And I'm not sure that he didn't drop the ball considerably in keeping you guys informed of the actions of that board. So I'll just put that down there and you guys can put that in your pipe and smoke it. The thing I was gonna say when San Isabel was here, she mentioned a great deal, an amount of money that she figured was you guys going to 8 meetings. It was an in-kind
15,000
amount. And then you guys suggested that maybe you wouldn't all 3 go, and she said, well, it would be you guys talking to people, blah, blah, blah. Are you guys gonna have to keep track of that? That could be an issue. The other thing was that is what they're doing a reinvention of the USGS study that we have yet to see here.
Yeah.
I do not know, I just
I don't believe it is.
throw that out.
Strictly a water balance study, but that's okay. Good question.
The third thing I wanted
doing a water balance study.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
That's what USGS is doing.
Right.
It's a water balance study.
Right.
Yeah.
And I just didn't know whether that was a reinvention of the wheel, dual
Right.
work. The third thing, I was gonna be a complete hard ass, and say that, if a portion of the county has not paid for ambulance service, then I think the portion of the county that has would object to
footing the bill for everybody.
footing the bill for everybody. I mean, I love Wetmore, don't get me wrong, you know that, but,
Which really begs the question, why are they not? How did that happen?
so I'm just.
With whatever district.
Need to come up with something that's going to have, they're gonna have to pay into the system if they're going to
I
get
think we
the
should raise their
service.
taxes.
I don't know, they don't get free ambulance service. We have,
Yeah.
up here, we have to pay taxes for that.
Yeah, this thing with Fremont County threw us all in a big old.
It's like they've been freeloading for Fremont County.
Well, we have to take care of people. Well, yeah, but who gets to pay for that?
Right.
The ones that are, they're already paying for it? That's not right either.
No, I
Anyway,
agree. I mean, there's something to say, okay, let's look at the boundaries of the West Custer County Hospital District.
And maybe you
where
need
those
to
fees went, and then maybe do
expand that.
another. Or expand and tax
Or you
everybody.
get after Fremont County, the same thing.
Well,
they picked them up for some reason. Why? If they weren't paying, how come they thought they could do it?
I don't know the answer to that. I just know that you can't, I don't know.
Okay, good point.
That's
Thank
all I
you.
know.
Yep. I was remiss, gentlemen, I want to tell you one thing. I was appointed to the State Underfunded Courthouse Facility Commission last week. We went and presented to them.
Yeah, I remember
I didn't know about it until yesterday. we went and presented them when we requested $45,000 from the underfunded courthouse, and if you remember, we did talk a little about there was a commissioner that was retiring off of that board.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
And so I submitted a letter of interest and got an email day before yesterday. And then,
Congratulations.
thank you. This
What does
book
that
came
mean
in.
in work?
Pardon me?
What's that mean?
I don't know how many times a year they meet, probably 3 or 4 times. This 2020, we've got $3 million to disburse for underfunded court grants.
That's certainly would help us get our justice center up and running.
Sounds like
Yeah.
sounds like we got an in.
We got a guy on the
We got an
committee
in.
now.
So,
I know where you can spend some of it.
yeah. So I'm excited about that. I thought that would be I was very impressed with that group. I thought they were very professional, and so I'm looking forward to that. I know when I campaigned, I did so thinking that, or saying that I would try to get involved at some level other than the county, so that was one of the efforts there. So, anyway, I want to let you know that. Anything else, gentlemen? Public comment? Thank you for being here. Appreciate that. If not, Chair would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
I'll second. Been moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed nay. Motion carried. We did beat 1 o'clock.